All right, let's see how YouTube Live works. All right. No. Yeah, orientation is locked. All right. Yeah, I get it. All right. Cool. So today we're streaming in landscape. Last night was portrait on Facebook, and oh man, is this thing upside down? Tell me it's not upside down. Oh boy. Oh boy. What? I can't read what the screen says. Oh, for God's sakes, Larry. Rotate device back. No. I don't want to rotate the device back. Oh man. We've gone off the rails already, boys and girls. Alright, well, you win, phone. As long as I don't have to solder, I think I'll be okay. Alright, so we're going to finish up this Rotorious Zoot. Oh, there's that wiring harness I was looking for. God damn it. We're going to finish up the Zoot. Sorry for the mess. And then we will move on to Flight 1. Alright, let me just get this a little bit better here. Alright. So let's get to work. Alright, so let's see if I can get this up on my computer so that I can read the comments. Alright, looks like it's gonna let me, and I can pause it. Perfect. Press the Alt key to pause the chat. Point in the message to delete it. That's cool. Alright, so looks like I got the chat up on my computer monitor in front of me. That's cool. Alright, good deal. Let's start working it. So last night I got a good amount done on the Zoot here in terms of getting the second camera mounted and wired up. This is going to be a sub 200 gram micro that will carry two cameras, make really good power, probably not quite 5-inch power to ratio. We shoot for about 10 to 1 on a 5-inch rig. This will probably be closer to like 7 or 8 to 1, but I actually kind of like that with micros. I mean, for me at least, the point, it's a tool, right? It's a tool for smaller spots or sketchy spots where you don't want to make a lot of noise, and power makes noise, and power breaks stuff and is dangerous. So with a micro, for me, I actually try to have the least amount of power possible and still have it be able to pull out of big dives and stuff like that. I mean, there is a point where, like brush tiny whoops, right? You fly them differently. You don't use the up and down dimension much with those. You yaw a lot with them, which is fine. But for flying outside, it's nice to have the power to be able to throw up over stuff, and yeah, just kind of use the up and down dimension, I guess you could say. So let's get to it. Let's just get this done, and I can see I've already made. No, that's fine. All right, so I need my antenna tubes. You guys are getting to see me early in the morning, so forgive a lot of ums and ahs. I just woke up, and I just want to get this done. Oh man, really? This broke already? Luckily there's nobody in here. All the other FPV people are still sleeping, as they should be. Alright, so how much wire do we have? Can we use a really small one? Get some antenna. I think I'm pretty much done. I think I just need antenna tubes. I Loctited these guys last night, and yeah, I think we're pretty much there. The soft mounting on this turned out better than I thought. It's really soft, which is really nice. That's exciting, because micros really need it. I got the VTX zipped here between the rear standoffs like we were talking about last night. It's a little loose. I'm a little afraid it's going to pop out. Maybe I'll throw another zip tie on the bottom, down low, I guess. My worry is that it's going to scooch out like that when it crashes and try to pop out. I don't quite know how to fix that. I try to remember not to come off to the side. I wish I had some extra. I think the receiver wires are a little too short. I think I could run the whole stack vertical in the back there. I think I could. And when I say stack, I mean VTX receiver, and this is actually a regulator. This the Turtle draws a lot of juice, so you can't run it off the 5 volt. I mean, you could, you just wouldn't want to. Run it off the 5 volt of the flight controller. Along with 2 cameras and a VTX. God, did I get a mosquito bite? What is going on? Why am I so itchy? Yeah, so I had to put a separate regulator in, which is really annoying because the last thing that we have on micros is extra space. But, gotta do it. Let's see. Is this smart audio wire long enough to come flying out and get chopped in the props? Nope. That's a good thing. Okay, yeah, that can't come into the props. Good, good, good. So, these are the things that I'm always checking for in the last steps of a build. Make sure it's not gonna come apart in the air and blow up on you. But this looks pretty good. I would like to figure out a better solution for this, and I think that literally is just extending the wires on the RXSR so that I can take this whole jam here. Get a little bit light. Oh, well, that's an interesting problem. When I move my light here, I have the phone gorilla potted to my little work light. But that means that when I move the work light, oh man, and I gotta keep it. This is gonna be bad. I'm a hot mess, people. Figuring it out though. We'll get this figured out. I need to give you guys a little more height here. All right, yeah. When I move the arm on this thing, it changes where the camera's pointed. I didn't realize that. Whatever. It'll be fine for right now. This will work for the time being. What I don't like about this, can you guys see that? Yeah. Ooh, there's somebody in here. Hold on. Turn the monitors back on. Hey! What's going on, French? Video with the Atlanta crew is great. Hey, thanks, man. P.S. we can't see this. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Yeah, dude, thanks for the props on that Atlanta crew video. That was super fun. That was a really fun time. Huge thanks to Jonathan for putting my wife and I up. That was a really, really great weekend. I can't wait to be down there more often. Alright, so yeah, every time I move the quad to the right, let me give you a little bit more vertical. Because naturally, I'm going to move it more to the right. Alright, that should be better. What do the light temperatures look like? I can change the light temperature on this. Alright, that's a little better. Awesome. Let me turn off the, my monitor keeps going black after 5 minutes. Let me turn that off real quick here. What's that, an energy saver, I think? Yeah, Display sleep 5 minutes. Nope. Let's go an hour. Alright. That's better. Good deal, man. Hey, French, if you have any questions, man, fire away. I want to start doing this as often as I can because I know a lot of the micro guys have a lot of questions. Because they're not easy to build, and there's a lot of tricks that I've figured out over the last 2 or so years that really make a huge difference in the way that they fly and the way that you build them. One of the things with micros is it can get really frustrating during the build and then repair process. With 5-inch, there's a lot more room in there. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. With 5-inch rigs, there's a lot more room in there. It's a lot easier to fix, a lot easier to repair. And that's a big part of this hobby, right? I mean, if you want to learn, if you want to really get better as a pilot, you have to be willing to slam a lot. And when you slam a lot, you break a lot. And with micros, it's just so much more fiddly to repair that taking a little bit of extra time during the build process to build it in a way that's more tough and more repairable makes a huge difference, in my opinion. So, fire away with any questions you've got. And I've been on these. I've been trying to talk as much as I possibly can to impart some of those tricks that I've found on people to give them a better experience, as the flight test guys say. So yeah, but the problem I'm having right now is that, get this angle so you can see it. It's gonna be hard to see, but I've got the VTX vertical in the back here, which I've been doing lately, that I really like. I really like that setup because that's wasted space. And then I've got the RXSR and come on, there it is. I've got the RXSR here and the voltage regulator here. And if the problem I'm having is the wires on the RXSR are a little too short. They're hooked up at the front of the flight controller here. They're a little too short. If they were a little longer, I'd be able to pull it with the bottom of it down and run it vertical along with the VTX and run all three of these vertical. But potential latency. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that in a second for sure. It's a great question. I would love to run this vertical and zip tie the whole stack, but I'm not willing to tear this apart right now, just to extend these wires. So I'm just gonna leave it angled like this. The only problem with leaving it angled like this is it's just barely touching the flight controller. And I don't like that because that invalidates to a degree the gyro data, right? When this thing is vibrating through the air like these do, the less you have hooked up to and or touching your flight controller, the better, because you want the gyro reading that this thing is getting from those vibrations to be as accurate as possible, right? And everything that's touching it is gonna add garbage, right? Garbage data, I guess you could say. So I don't love this, but I'm not taking it apart again. We'll just fly it, and if it's bad, we'll fix it. And then when it breaks, eventually, then I'll fix the problem. So, great question. Believe it or not, the latency is not the issue that I have with the HD cams. I don't really notice the latency, and nor do a lot of other people, because I think our brain has a pretty wide, a good ability to adjust to a wide amount of latency. The problem is the FPV feed on these HD cams sucks a big bag of dicks. It is so hard to fly through. The contrast is terrible. There's a lot of video noise on it for whatever reason. I learned this with the Acrobrat. I'm one of the Acrobrat team pilots, and the first month or so flying this thing through the split, I had a really hard time, and I didn't know why. And I couldn't really get any batteries in that I was happy with, and eventually I realized it was just because I couldn't see. I mean, I could see, but I couldn't see well. And for me, at least, that has a huge effect on my confidence in the air and my ability to shoot little gaps and stuff. I mean, if you don't care about your gear and you have you know, 4 or 5 rigs and the money to repair them all the time, I guess it's less of an issue. Although, no, it's still an issue, right? Because being able to see the things that you're about to go flying, screaming through at 40, 50 miles an hour makes a huge difference. But even more so, you know, when you can't afford to fix it all the time, it makes a huge difference. So it took me a bit to realize that, but when I did, that was right around the time that people figured this out and were building the dual camera mount for the Acrobrat. And I have a video of the first time. So the very first time I flew that rig was the best battery I'd ever flown on it. And I think that's one of my edits. I'm looking it up real quick here. Let's see. That might be dual camera Acrobrat flow. That might be that video. Let me see. My channel. And FPV quadcopters. Dual camera Acrobrat flow. Epic launch. Yeah, that's dual camera Acrobrat flow. That is the first time I flew it with the Runcam Sparrow 2. Doesn't matter to that camera, any legit FPV camera, and it was just nuts. I mean, the difference was incredible. So yeah, and I mean, it's not like it's a subconscious thing to a degree with the FPV cam versus flying through these. Like I said, I didn't notice it. I just didn't understand why I couldn't fly worth a damn with the through the split. And then all of a sudden, when I got the legit FPV camera on there, it was like, oh, that's why, because I couldn't see where the hell I was going. So I really, really recommend it. I really think it's super important. Push many fast and small gaps in 3-inch with the split. Is that Foxy or CCD or CMOS? I believe it's CMOS. It's the Predator 2 with the top corner filed down to clear the top plate a little bit easier. What do we think? Red? Yeah, we're going red because they're the right length. Although, am I not going to be able to get it out of here? Come on now. Yeah, I'm a fan of CMOS for the yeah, man, totally. Split feed absolutely adds hesitation, and that little bit of hesitation is probably more than you think it is. You know what I'm saying? Like a little bit of hesitation is probably a lot of hesitation, because stuff is happening so fast when we're flying these things. Man, this is jammed in here. I don't know if I'll be able to get this out. I have an idea. Try to push it out this way. Yeah, every little bit of I feel like every little bit of hesitation is kind of exponential. Shit rolls downhill kind of thing. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can get this out of here. I melt the ends of these things when I put them in the TPU. Well, that was easy. So that they stick in there better, and then they get stuck in there sometimes. All right, we'll go with the red forever tubes. Why the hell not? Great questions though, man. Really, really, really good questions. That is kind of like the question that I get a lot, and it's really important. Here's the other thing, right? And here's a little trick. Speaking of tricks, the little rubber nips, the little rubber nipples fall off these forever tubes a lot. But if you melt the tip of this, it'll mushroom out a little bit, and it'll kind of hold on to the little rubber nip a little bit better. So if you mushroom the end of that out with a lighter, I don't need it to focus, I just need to show the little mushroom. You might be able to see it, but yeah, mushroom that ish out, and it'll hold on to the nip better. And you can also do it if your feet. This mount doesn't work that way, but some of these TPU mounts. Here's one. So some of these TPU mounts, you feed it in from one side or the other. And if you're feeding it like that, you can also mushroom this to keep it in there, right? Mushroom one side, push it through, and then the mushroomed out will keep it from popping out, right? The problem then, though, becomes it pushing in. It can still push in, and that's annoying. So I usually end up using a little bit of welders to keep that from happening, which works really well. So let's see if this is... Oh, and these are the... So here's the other problem. Sometimes these TPU mounts are sized for a specific antenna tube. And this particular one, it appears, might be sized for the smaller antenna tubes, the thinner black ones. Well, maybe not. This is going in. Get in there. Oh no, that went in there. Never mind. Yeah, that's fine. That'll stay. I'm kind of I was using zip ties for a long time. Zip ties and shrink wrap. And it works great. But every time you have to disassemble it, you have to cut the... thanks, man. Nice tips. Nice nips. Every time you pull it apart, you have to cut the... it's early. You have to cut the shrink wrap off of it, and that gets annoying. So I started using these guys just out of kind of laziness. But I've grown to really like them. They're really tough. I was breaking the zip ties, and I had one where I pulled the antenna out, and it ripped the antenna on the RXSR, and those things are such a bastard to replace, and it's just one of those annoying little things. So yeah, I'm doing this forever tube thing, and I'm kind of digging it. And it's also not really any heavier. I weighed a zip tie and a piece of shrink wrap, and it weighs pretty much exactly what the forever tubes weigh. So the only extra weight is the TPU piece, and I just always try to use these little TPU guys that are as minimal as possible, and it's only adding like a gram or two. So I'm willing to eat that gram or two in favor of a little ease of serviceability. And because on these micros, a little bit of extra weight is not the end of the world. It kind of helps with throw, which that's a pretty controversial kind of point. Anything that flies, this is the only case that I kind of think that I'm actually a big proponent of keeping the things that you're trying to make fly through the air, with gravity being, the enemy, as light as possible. But within everything's a balance, right? Like serviceability is a big important thing to me. Everybody has their deal breakers, and that's totally fine. There's no right answer to any of this. So having oh look, this one's a little too long. That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, having like your priorities in order and balancing all that is super important, and that's what I'm doing. But for me, a big priority is serviceability. I really don't love... I just want to go out and fly these things. I don't want to spend all my time here working on them. I really try to cut down on that as much as possible, because I don't love it. Sitting here at my desk working on these things, I would much rather be doing edits or spending time with my wife. When I'm out, I'm out. And that's... that should be the fun time. I don't necessarily find working on these things to be all that enjoyable. But you got to do it. It's sort of the name of the game, and it's what separates, in a way, some of the better pilots from some of the more, the folks that just do this for fun, which is totally fine. Nothing against that. It's, in a way, And there are certainly times where I wish I just kind of had more fun than a work approach to this, but that's just not the way I am as a person. Any hobby that I have, I feel like I need to work hard as hell. Tornado Girl, what's up? How are you on this fine Sunday morning? French has some other stuff you call French on the Painless 3. Yeah, you're dead on the money there, man. I'm wondering the same thing. I really wish he had tested, and I actually meant to comment on the video to ask him to test the Forever tubes. And I'm also going to ask him to test the 2 different types. I don't know where these come from, but these have been sent to me. They're a more flexible, thinner tube. So here's, all right, so here you can probably tell. Right, here's the Forever tube. Look how stiff that is. Hold it over here. So here's the Forever tube, really stiff, right? And then here's this one. Look at that bend. And I'm putting like, oh, you can really see it when it bends back, right? So the Forever tube goes up and bends right back, but watch this one. Ready? See it slowly going back? It's kind of softer. It's like a softer, you said stiff. So yeah, I would love for him to test each one of these for that exact reason, man. Really, really good point. I was thinking the same thing. Although what I found interesting was towards the end there, it looked to me like it was a big amount, right? That the SWR changed and that it wasn't going as far down on the graph. But he made it sound like it wasn't. He made it sound like it wasn't that big of a deal, which was kind of interesting. So I don't know. Maybe it's I've been using the Forever tubes for a while and I haven't been having any problems. So maybe it's all just not placebo, but just not as big of a deal as the numbers make it out to be. That's certainly what they say. And you know, those guys, I forget his name, but that guy at Menace obviously knows more than us, right? So I feel like it's better to kind of listen to him than to make my own uneducated assumptions. All right, so let's get this on here. What else we got? Regardless, I too am an antenna tube fan. Ah, nice. Tube on my 3-inch rig with the crossfire dipole inside. Okay. How'd you do this? So that's, I just did that on my Alien, slammed Alien. There, let me get this out of the way. So yeah, on my slammed Alien, this is the first rig I went to a long-range R9 system actually, and I used the dipole. And I'm waiting for, I need another, so this is on a 45-degree TPU, and then I'm waiting on another 45 down TPU, so I have that 90. But yeah, I used the Forever tubes on this, and it worked out really nice. It really holds it well. All right, let's get this Zoot back going. Hopefully they test out the tubes. I left them a comment. Awesome, man. You are killing it. Oops. Alright. Nah, that one's even longer. Not doing that. Stop being crazy, Ciotti. Yeah, hey, by the way, Ciotti is pronounced Ciotti. You guys probably didn't know that. Well, it's not actually pronounced Ciotti. The Italian pronunciation is Ciotti. C-I is C-H in Italian. But I was born in America, and I pronounce it the way that I think it sounds the coolest, because America. Yeah, so I'm still not a fan of this. I mean, it won't pop out because I'm going to have this. So with the VTX vertical like this, there is room for it to kind of pop out and down, which I am a little bit worried about, but this actual antenna is going to get zipped to this guy. So that will sort of prevent it from coming out the bottom, but I still don't love it. I mean, I very well might need to pull this apart after the first flight for any number of reasons. This is all an untested kind of setup. So I think I'm just going to leave it because I really want to just be done with this so I can start screwing around with this race flight build, which I'll talk more about. So I think I'm just going to zip this up and be done with it. Tornado, great question. Rotorious is back in business. So he didn't, even though it might have seemed like it, Jack never went out of business. Jack had a back surgery that didn't go perfectly, and he was out in a lot of pain for a while, recovering from that. And it was tough, man. We were all really kind of pulling for him. And he did make a recovery, but it took him a lot longer than he thought. So, yeah, he's back now. What ended up happening was when he was out for about 5 months. And by the time he came back, so Jack is in Europe, and he was working with John Trent here in the U.S. with Rotorious. But when Jack was out for all that time, John wanted to keep going on the CB, which he said was originally his design, and I think that was before I came on board, before they sponsored me, so I can't really speak to that. But regardless, he wanted to move forward, and 5 months is a long time, especially in FPV, right? So John started having the CBs cut to keep some momentum going for Rotorious, and then when Jack came back, they kind of split, and John started Superfly, and Jack kept going with Rotorious, and did this Zoot design. So like this Zoot is basically the Rotorious 3-inch freestyle rig, and then the CB is now the Superfly 3-inch freestyle rig. And yeah, so that's what happened. And yeah, Rotorious is back. I'm seeing if I can get. I know a couple of the guys at Race Day Quads, so I'm seeing if I can get Jack a foot in the door with them, so that he's got another spot to sell, so that he can start selling stateside here again without having to ship from Europe. So yeah, that's the situation there. Tornado Girl asked that, and then French asked, I was going to ask you that. Yeah, man, me too, Tornado, me too. Really, really nice guy. French, I was wondering if you did that. And yeah, I'm trying to keep that 90 to reduce the nulls. Yeah, I was wondering if you could run them straight like that. And I was thinking the same thing that you are. If it works on the Immortal, it should work in this. And just try to not point the null at yourself. Mysterious. Why do you keep frying my F411? How do I fry your flight controller? I'm assuming that you meant to type I. Oh yeah, I and you are right next to each other on that keyboard. Cool. Why do I keep frying my F411 when I try to wire up 2 of the tiny LEDs, 3 to 6S, solder them to the ESC battery pads? Huh. That's weird. And it's frying the flight controller? That's very strange. What ESC, I guess? And are you... I mean, I hate to even ask, but are you sure you're putting plus to plus, minus to minus? God, that's weird. That shouldn't have anything to do with the flight controller. God, that's strange. You might have to ask that one on Quad Camp and just give as much detail as you possibly can. That sounds really strange to me. Oh, I know what I can do. I can pull this down a little bit. That's cool. So there we go. There's where the what the antenna setup is going to be on this guy. This is a bit much. These are a bit long. SpeedX 20 amp. Man, I don't know. I have 5 SpeedX 20 amps that are up in the air and have been for as long as like a year and a half, and they've been fine. I think at this point, to reduce variables, if you haven't already, you want to wire it up without the LEDs and just see what happens. If it doesn't fry with the LEDs, then shit, man, I don't know. That's weird. I have tried Axie Micro, and wait, no, this isn't one of them. This is a True RC, Axie Micro is... Oh, no, Axie Micro? No, I haven't. The Axies are expensive, man. That's the problem I have with them. But next time I need one, I have a bunch of extras right now, which is kind of the only reason that I haven't tried the Axie Micro yet. Once I break all these, then I'll start buying Axie Micros. I have heard everybody that I've talked to about them, including Tommy, has said that they work really well. So I don't, if that's sort of the main question that you've got, buy with confidence, I think, because enough pilots that I trust have told me that they're good. That, yeah, I don't think you'll have an issue with it. So I think we're done, guys. I think this Zoot is done. I don't love the way this VTX is in here, but it's actually a little better now that I slid the zip tie down. And, yeah, this is about it. So there you have it. There's a pretty rare thing. 3-inch micro with dual cameras, under 200 grams. I'm pretty impressed by this frame. I haven't flown this frame yet, but I've been really dying to. So let's get the rest of the screws in this, and this will be done, and we can move on to a 5-inch race flight build, and we can talk more about that. Mysterious, man, that sucks. I keep thinking, why the hell? Let me reread. Why do I keep frying F411 Mini when I try to wire up 2 of the tiny LEDs, 3 to 6Ss, soldered them to the ESC battery pads? Yeah, I mean, you're doing that. That's what I've done. I have a bunch of 5-inch rigs with the on them, and yeah, I mean, I just run 2 extra wires off the positive and negative battery. I haven't done it on a micro yet, though. Maybe it's some, I don't know. I can't imagine it would be, but yeah, I mean, I just run an extra set of wires here off the positive and negative battery pads to the tiny LEDs, and it shouldn't be drawing that much. I mean, I guess I would also make sure that you're not bridging these two when you're putting those extra wires on. It can get a little bit fiddly. Get yourself, if you don't already have it, a 5X loop from Amazon, and every time you do a solder joint, just inspect it with this guy to make absolutely sure it's not being bridged. You know, it's hard for me. I don't know anybody's experience level with building, packaging, soldering, all that good stuff. So forgive me if I'm, you know, inadvertently talking down to you. I just, you know, I don't know what your experience level is. At Quad Camp, when I help out, there's a lot of folks who don't have a lot of experience soldering, so I've learned to kind of start at the basics. And I mean, hell, even myself, I will overlook the basic stuff when I'm troubleshooting. And it's one of the things I love about calling my buddy Brad, who got me into this hobby and has been my best friend in the world for a million years. You know, when him and I troubleshoot with each other, we have a tendency to think of the more basic things for the other person. And it's like, oh, right, I didn't check that. And lo and behold, that's the problem. So, so mysterious. Yeah, French, awesome. Thanks, man. See if you can help him out. See if you can think of anything. Let's group think this. See if we can get that figured out. Because that's weird. I mean, I guess luckily the F411 is so cheap that it's only you're only $50 in, which unfortunately, man, is kind of the name of the game a little bit with this whole hobby. Sometimes you got to just guinea pig this shit. There's so many things that can go wrong. That there's always an element of, oh, fuck me, I forgot the battery strap. There's always an element of trial and error to it. You know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do... No, I really do want to run this. I want to run this toilet tank because with this extra weight in the front, I feel like I'm going to need to shift... Well, let's see. I feel like I'm going to need to shift the battery towards the back to have a good CG. But... let's see how much room... Yeah, see, so... Oh, God, and that's getting in the way. So I'm kind of going to have to toilet tank this if I want to run these 4S's. Because everything is getting in the way, and that's getting in the way of the FPV camera. So I'm already going to have problems, I can tell, of the bottom of the FPV camera getting cut off by this guy. So, yeah. I don't want to block the top of it as well. So we shall toilet tank and hope for the best. What I don't love about toilet tanking is there's no way to perfectly center it. There's no, like, you know, when you mount it like this, it's going to be centered left to right from the battery strap, and then all you got to worry about is scooting it front and back, which you figure out pretty quick, and you can test by holding the battery from where the center of the frame is. And if it's front weighted like this one is, it'll nose down. If it's ass heavy, it'll nose back. But again, you got to make sure you're pinching from the middle of the frame. With toilet tank, there's no way to locate the battery left to right, and it's kind of, you gotta like kind of look at where the cells end, you know, because there's a piece of foam up here that doesn't weigh anything, so you gotta kind of guess at where the cells end to get it lined up just right. And I feel like you can never quite get it perfect for the left to right CG, but we'll see. I haven't done it yet. It might be a non-issue, but I am gonna do it on this one because I do want to run these batteries. So I think that might be a good spot. Well, that's as far back as I can put it, so that is what I'm going to do. So it's going to be this strap hole and the last strap. Oh no, although I can use the all the way in the back. Oh, that's interesting. That really shifts it back though. I won't go that hard on it quite yet. I'll use this one. So the last hole and the second to front hole. Let's see if I can finagle this with the top plate on, or I have to pull the. I might have to pull the top plate off. Yeah, I do. I can already tell. I won't waste the time. I'll just do it. Good questions, guys. This is really fun. I kind of avoided doing this for far too long because I thought it would be kind of a pain in the ass and I wouldn't like it. But last night I did a Facebook and an Instagram live stream, and it was really fun. Like getting to hear from you guys not in like a Facebook comment left a day ago is definitely different. Being able to have these conversations is awesome, and I don't know, I think I have a lot to I think I've made a lot of these mistakes and I can help a lot of people out. When I was learning this stuff, there were a bunch of occasions that I was, you know, I quit kind of thing. Just from frustration, right? Like you blow up, like what Mysterious is dealing with, right? You've now got $50 into F411s, and there's a lot of guinea pigging that has to go on just by nature of this hobby. But you know, if you come in here and I say something that kind of resonates with a problem that you're getting, that can save you money, and that's, you know, and it could save you from kind of quitting the hobby. Luckily, I'm stubborn enough that I didn't quit, but not everybody is as stubborn, which is probably a good thing, especially if you ask me wife. Alright, so now when I push down on this, it's pushing down on that, which I really don't like, so I'm going to run this the other way. Run this battery strap the other way. I quit at least once a week. Yeah, Tornado, you get it. I think we all get it. Can everybody that's in the chat, have you all quit before? Or is that just Tornado and I? French micro tuning video tutorial would be cool too. It would, but the video tutorial thing is very daunting, and you know, doing like so we've been, how long have I been up here so far? Let me see. This has been, is there a time? No, there's not a time. But I've probably been on here for a half an hour already, and we've only barely scratched the surface. There's just so many things, you know what I mean? And yeah, I don't have the time. If I ever get to a place where I can do FPV full time, maybe. But otherwise, I mean, I just don't have it. The struggle for me, the sort of meta to this hobby has become where I spend my time. Do I spend my time repairing, flying, editing, on social media, talking to people? And each one of those feels like a full-time job at points. So it's tough, man. 2018 was a year where I said, you know what, let me not Yeah, Betaflight changes so fast too, for sure. What the hell was I just saying? Oh yeah, so 2018 was a year where I said, all right, let me back off on editing, let me back off on building and social media, and let me just try to fly. Because I was diving into 5-inch. I did 2017 was micros the whole year. Beginning of 2018, when I did that quad camp, the video that kind of put me on the map, that's when I moved over to 5-inch stuff. So I spent as much time last year as I could just getting out and flying. I was also having some mental health issues. We won't get into that, but I just needed it. I needed to have as much enjoyment in this hobby as possible rather than have it be work. Which, as much as I enjoy the editing, I've been doing video editing for a long time. If you go back in my YouTube channel, I've got videos that are 10, 11 years old. Son of a bitch, I put the battery strap in backwards. You dirty bastard. Fly Savage, how are you, man? So yeah, the micro build video would be really good. You know, I should actually, if I can remember to, I have a million build tips. Well, you know, I do have a little post in my Facebook group that has some building tips. That's right, I was using that as a repository for a little while to put build tips. So if you go to Facebook and search for the group called, oh god, what is it called? It's my own group, for Christ's sakes. It's called, oh man, it's early. I only woke up an hour ago. That's my excuse. What is the group called? It's called something with something. I have to look it up. I have to look up the name of my own goddamn Facebook group. It is called, that's right, the Micro King's Castle with Ciotti FPV. So I'll bet you if you just search for the Micro King, or maybe the Micro King apostrophe S, you'll find it. And it's just a silly little group that, yeah, thanks Jesse. Other people know the name of my group, but I don't. That's, oh boy. Yeah, it's just a little spot that I use to drop, like when I'm at work and I think of something interesting, it's an easy spot for me to go in and just type it out real quick. And if it helps somebody, great. If not, that's okay too. It gave me an excuse to get paid at work for not doing work. So yeah, I've got some build tips in there, and I think that would be a better kind of spot for it. And you know, I'm the worst sometimes. At Rampage, Joshua Bardwell and I hung out for a bit. We met at the Atlanta Quad Camp, and then we kept in touch. And he asked me if I would help him with the micro section of his website, the buying guide and whatnot, and I told him I would be thrilled to. And then I got busy with life, and I got a lot going on. So I owe him some more feedback on that part of his website so he can get it up. But here's one of the things that's kind of, I mean, it is up, it's just not live for the public. The problem I'm having though is like with the micro world, because it's not as, there hasn't been as much R&D done in the micro universe as with 5-inch. It's more, it's not the right word, but it's kind of more volatile right now. Like if I was to go in there and say, all right, here's all the best parts. I mean, Maytech F411 and SpeedX 20 amp, those have been solid for a while, but motors are changing like crazy. Frames are all over the place. So, you know, I would do all this. So I've been sort of waiting a little bit for things to kind of settle down, and they really haven't. So I should just do it if I find the time. Maybe after this move. Maybe after the move down to Atlanta. I'll hopefully find some time. All right, I'm behind in chat. Let me take a look. Fly Savage, you put the straps on backwards too? Good. That makes me feel better. Mysterious says love-hate relationship. Indeed, it is. Betaflight changes so fast. Yup. Tornado. Literally make all my videos private and delete my Instagram about once a week. Don't do it. Don't do it. CeeLo quit for 7 months. Really? Good for you for coming back. Awesome. All right, Mysterious said, the ESC will power up and LEDs power up, but not the flight controller. Plugged into the USB to check in beta flight, didn't power on, just got super hot. About to say screw the lights. Mysterious, have you hooked it up without the LEDs yet, and it works okay? Man, that is so weird. All right, let me get back to the bottom of the chat. Fly Savage retracted a message. King's Castle, says Jesse again. Thank you, Jesse. Now Fly Savage retracted a message. Oh man. Oh wait, no, you retracted another one. What are you cursing us out? Do you find the lollipops durable? All right. So here's the deal with the Gen 2 lollipops, and I confirmed this with Trey rather, from Fox Dal / surveillance company. They're all the same company. The UFL Lollipop 2s were mismanufactured. There's a solder joint on the inside of these things. I cut one of them open to figure this out, and I think I threw it away. But the solder joint connecting the lobes on the oh, hell, I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're called, but the lobes that are in here that do the actual circular polarization. There's a solder joint connecting the top one and the bottom one. And on these, the UFL, only the UFL, Lollipop, and only the version 2, there's a problem with that solder joint. So when you take a hard slam, it'll start to sound like a rattle, and that's the top part of the CPL bouncing around inside of there. Trey sent me a whole bunch of them to test, which is why I'm using them. I have them on like 4 or 5 different rigs. Because he wanted somebody that he knew would crash a lot to test them out. He says that they've now fixed it, and it is not a problem with the SMA ones or the MMCX ones. These are incredibly durable. Actually, here, look at this one. Look at the beating that this one has taken. This one has been through absolute hell on Earth, and it is absolutely fine. Doesn't sound like a rattle. So yeah, it's just the UFLs, and supposedly it's fixed now, and I just have a million of them, and I just want to kind of get through them. So that's why I'm using them. Actually, I'm using it on this one because, oh no, this isn't the VTX. Never mind. Did smash one UFL to bits, but it was a hard crash too. Yeah, it only happens on big slams, and you know, on big hits when stuff breaks, I have a hard time faulting it too much. You slam something hard enough and it's gonna explode. You know, that if you've ever, I don't recommend it, but if you've ever caught a 5-inch rig, like you get it stuck up in a tree 10, 20, 30 feet up, you turtle mode it, and you try to catch it before it hits the ground, good God, it's the first time you do it, you almost die, and you usually get cut, which is why I don't recommend doing it, because the props are sharp. But the amount of energy and the amount of force that comes down on you is like staggering. So again, I don't suggest it, but if you ever do that, you will get a new respect for the amount of energy that these things impart into hard surfaces when they slam, and then it makes a lot more sense why stuff breaks as often as it does. What was I just looking for? Grip is what I was just looking for. Where is it? That's the question. What is this? 16 gauge? That's 24 gauge. Screw it. Put it in there. Not the time to be doing organizational stuff off camera, I guess. Good to know. I like the lollipops. Yeah, me too. I love that they come in purple. Form over function all day. I might not be able to fly great, but at least I can look great. No, it's certainly not form over function, but I don't think there's any reason not to have both form and function. Having something that looks cool sitting on your wall is gratifying in itself. And when I can't fly, or when I don't feel like flying, it's cool to have cool looking stuff. Best place to find Grip. RDQ and many others seem out of stock. For me, it's the Acrobat Team Pilot store. But if it wasn't that, it would be from Rotorious. I try really hard to support the... so when somebody makes a product, right, and then they have to resell that product to, let's say, RDQ, the amount of money that they make back from it is going to be a lot less, right? It's like economics or whatever the hell you want to say. So I try my best when somebody makes a product to order it from the spot where I think they're going to make the most. So for a while that was Rotorious. For a while that was my excuse to do a Rotorious order and get like some, Grip and some stickers and whatnot. But now that Tommy is out on his own, I would order it directly from his website with the same thinking. It's my chance to get some cool God swag. And if anybody's gonna have it in stock, Rotorious store is out of stock. Good lord. Yeah, if anybody's gonna have it in stock, it's gonna be the as close to the source as possible. So that would be my recommendation. Order it from Tommy. He's a great guy. Really worked his ass off on... He works his ass off on all the products. He doesn't just like phone it in or let somebody else design it and then take the credit for it. He really works on it. He's really involved in the process. And just a great guy. Just a really, really great guy. I really respect Tommy a lot for the decisions that he's made and the products that he's come out with. So yeah, get it from his store. I think it's ohmygod.com or something like that. You can find it, I'm sure. Alright, so speaking of, let's get the grip on here. One of the tricks that I learned from Tommy, specifically on the Acrobat, is not to use too big of a piece. On the Acrobat, the reasoning behind that is you want to be able to pull the battery down into that clean plate and have it hit the carbon side rails. So the whole point of the clean plate, not the whole point, but a big part of the magic is it's mass damping. They used it in F1 a long time ago, and then it was banned. Basically, if you want an object to stay in the same place, as stable as possible, you add mass to it. And that mass will prevent it from moving from outside sources, from influence from outside sources, the wind, or in F1's case, bumps on the racetrack, stuff like that. The problem is, the problem with that, with stuff that flies is, it's gravity, right? Gravity tries to bring those flying things back down to the ground, so you got to be careful with it. But yeah, it's about maximizing the weight that you've got, that you have to carry. So by using a smaller piece of grip, you can then more easily pull when you crank the strap down, you can more easily pull the battery down into the carbon plates, the carbon side plates, and you make the weight of the battery a part of that mass damper that's keeping that clean plate in place. Versus you use a big piece of grip, you can't pull the battery all the way down to the carbon, so now the battery is sitting up on this grip, and it becomes its own mass damper. The battery wants to stay in place and let the clean plate move around it. You don't want that. You want to pull the battery into the clean plate to make its mass a part of the clean plate's mass. And then that whole section is going to just want to cruise along and let the dirty section vibrate underneath it. Hope that makes sense. Jesse, yeah, he's not with Rotorious anymore. He's out doing his own thing. Check his website out. It's great. Let me figure out what his website is. I've been there recently, so I can just type. Yeah, it is. It's ohmygod.com. ummagawd.com. He's got some really good stuff up there. Let's, all of us micro folks, let's support Tommy, because he's got some really cool stuff coming with the Acrobat. And quite frankly, we just don't get a lot of love, right? I mean, you guys know that. We, yeah, we just don't get a lot of love from manufacturers, and it's really cool that he's kind of jumped on board to do something a little more mainstream and to really also do something that's different, right? I mean, we kind of get the scraps of the 5-inch industry. Cool. We don't get a lot of love. So there you go. Let's check the CG. It's gonna be hard to check the CG if I pinch it from underneath. Well, so the flight controller is not the center of the frame. The center of the frame is right around here. So not bad. Not bad. It's a little tail heavy. Yeah, it's a little tail heavy. That's all right. Not so much that I'm not gonna fly it. I'll fly it like this. Let me screw the rest of the motors in. I know I'm getting behind on chat. I'm just trying to get this done quickish because I need to do another build / repair / upgrade, whatever you want to call it. This is cool though. I really dig this frame. This is the Rotorious Zoot frame sent to me by Jack. Yeah, he did a hell of a job on this frame. Really impressed. So let's bust the rest of this out real quick, and then we can move on. All right, chat. Let's see. I don't have to look as I screw motor screws in. I can look at the chat. What do we got? Whoa, 900 grams, 7-inch. Good Lord, that is for real. Did you catch it? Yeah, terrifying indeed. That happened to my lollipop. Yeah, Steve-O. Yeah, I know, man. I feel you. What else do we got? Where's the best place to find Grip now? We just talked about that. Store seemed out of stock. All right. Love the guy. See his Honda commercial. Yes, man. Holy hell. He actually sent that to the so the Acrobat team pilots. We have a secret little group chat that we all hang out in to help us share ideas and moderate the Facebook group. And he shared that with us. I want to say like 2 weeks ago. He was like, "For real, nobody shares this," which of course we didn't. But yeah, man, what a perfect example of what we can do for the film industry. That kind of stuff is really exciting to me, especially with this Atlanta move coming up. I don't know if I'll ever try to make this my full-time thing. I have a problem with burning out. I tend to get really into hobbies, and it becomes my life, and then after a couple years I get bored of it. It happened to me with playing drums growing up, and then I picked up airsoft as a hobby, and I was into that for about 10 years. And then same thing, I was running a shop building custom guns that were super upgraded, $1,000 a pop, playing twice a week, going to like 24-hour scenario games, 48-hour scenario games, playing with real military folks, and just kind of drove it into the ground and haven't played since. And then I went to university for TV radio and did a lot of video editing. It's kind of where I got my start with that. This is about 15 years ago. I'm probably barely on the screen here. And same deal, drove that into the ground, didn't do it again. Then after airsoft, I got into photography, went nuts with that. Ciotti Industries is my photography page on Facebook. Same thing, drove that into the ground, and then I got into motorsports and autocross. I haven't driven that into the ground yet. I just can't afford to do it anymore. But I was super involved in autocross. I was the co-chair of the South Jersey region when I lived up there. I was one of the 2 people like putting on and hosting the events for 100+ drivers. So I mean, it was real. It was a real responsibility, and I had to deal with Sports Car Club of America's insurance, and finding sites for us to run on, and organizing the events, and the points and the rankings and the standings, blah 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 blah. After I was co-chair for a couple years, I became an instructor, a driving instructor with those guys, and that lasted for another. I was an instructor for 7 or 8 years, I think, and brought a bunch. Eventually, I became instructor chair, and got a whole bunch of other instructors trained, which was super fun. But I mean, again, just I can't be into a hobby without getting super involved with it, and I'm worried with this hobby that I would do that if I tried to do this full time. I'm worried that I would burn out on it and kind of ruin it for myself. So it's always a balance for me. I mean, life's a balance, right? But with hobbies, I always have to kind of be careful because I love them and I don't want to not love them. God damn it. All right, so when you're putting these arm protectors on, skid guards, whatever you want to call them, if you'll notice, if you look really closely at them, what the designers typically do is they'll make this side, the motor soft mount side, thinner, because primarily they're designing these to be run like this, right? So they make the long side thinner, and then they make this bottom part thicker because they expect you to run it in this orientation. So they want the thicker part of the TPU to be down because that's what's going to get hit. The problem is a lot of times they won't make the hole in the center for the center shaft quite big enough. So whenever you're using these as motor soft mounts, crank your screws down and then try to spin the motor, and you can probably see it stops, like, right? Because the TPU, the hole in the TPU is too small and it's touching the C-clip in there. So I really wanted to fly this today, but oh no. Oh, let me just do it. I'll just take it out. Let me take a little break and look at the comments. Tommy Grip, great. Tommy has Grip on stock on his site. Go get it. Everybody go buy it. Support Tommy. Hoops on an Acrobrat looked weird. Hoops? Jesse? Hoops? Hoops on an Acrobrat. You talking about the prop protectors, maybe? Tommy now has 2 sets of Grip thanks to my nice 2 less sets. Nice, French. What are your thoughts on the new Emax 1408? Great question, Steve. I have a lot of thoughts on micromotors lately. Thinking of putting them on a massive Joiner 3-inch versus the Brat motors, which I love on the Brat. So my question is going to be in the Honda vid, yeah, the protectors. Yeah, Jesse, they do look a little strange, for sure. But when you're flying around people, you got to have them. Man, he got close to that bike. Holy crap. Really, really good pilot. Love that guy. All right, Steve, let's talk about micromotors. This is good. This will give me a little break. I like this because I'm frustrated that I have to pull these motors apart. All right, so in the 5-inch world, I think we can all agree that they've had the most development in terms of prop size, motor KV. There is a special kind of magic to the way a 5-inch rig feels, and I think what that magic is the throttle resolution. In the bottom of the throttle, the middle of the throttle, the top of the throttle, there's an incredible amount of what I call control, which I stole from Kebab. When Kebab talks about control, what he's saying, in my interpretation of what he's saying, is that at any part in the throttle, when you make a change, because your work on the throttle is a lot of flying. It's arguably the most important part, especially for accuracy, and it's the hardest part too. When you make a change to the throttle, there's an instant response from the quad. That to me is the definition of control, and you want that to be the case at all parts of the throttle, down low, in the middle, up top. Up top, it's usually not an issue because all the motors are making good power and they can just spin the prop up pretty easily. But in the middle and in the low throttle, it becomes a lot harder. And look at a 5-inch motor, right? 23 width by 6 or 22 width by 7 tall. That's very wide and not very tall, right? And what that does for you, the width is a longer lever. If you were trying to, all right, so think about taking a wheel off on your car. Your lug nuts are some idiot at the tire shop railed them on with a pneumatic gun that doesn't have the clutch set right, and you have a hard time getting them off with the little wrench that's in the trunk. What do? You grab a tube, you put it on that wrench to make a longer lever, right? Longer lever imparts more force, more torque. So that's what this motor is doing. This is a very torquey motor, right? It's very wide and it's not very tall. The height of the motor tends to just give you more kind of raw horsepower at the top of the throttle, but the width of the motor gives you torque and instant response in the low and mid throttle area. And with 5-inch motors, which again have had the most development done, they're very wide and not very tall. 23 width, 6 tall. Or 22 width and 7 tall. Now you look at micro motors, and it's the complete opposite, right? So here we have a 1306. Think of the ratio, right? The ratio a second ago was 23, not 13, to the same 6. So in my opinion, with these micro motors, what's happening is they're adding height to get power out of them, but they need to be adding more width. The best micro motors for me in each prop size, and I'm looking around for a 2-inch rig, which I don't think I have handy. I'll just talk about it while I'm taking this back apart. For a 2-inch rig, the best combo for motors that I've found is 1104 or 1105. Most of the 1104s, in fact, all of the 1104s, when you go to a store and buy an 1104, it's going to be an 1105, actually. If you get it, when it gets to you, if you pull it apart and measure the stator is going to be 5 millimeters high. There's only one true 1104 that I've found, and that's Drew's Drib motor, which is made by T-Motor. And so an 1104 or an 1105 is the best motor in terms of the balance of power at the top of the throttle to control in the middle of the throttle that I've been able to find for a 2-inch prop. So now you bump up to 2.5-inch prop, and that's where the RCX 1304s come into their own. And to me, 13 width, 4 high is the best combination that I've found. And admittedly, I haven't tried like the 1206s or some of the other ones yet. Definitely looking forward to it, but these RCX 1104s are like $9 a motor, and they're also tough as hell. And that is really important to me. Micros for me are, I send them up first, or I send them on sketchy missions, so they have to be really durable. So yeah, 1304 is my favorite size for a 2.5-inch prop. Now when we get to 3-inch props, things get interesting. And I think 1408 is not the right direction. I think that is way too much stator height and not enough stator width. But here is my question, which is, what are you building that rig for? If it's a race rig where you're going to spend most of your time at the top of the throttle, you'll probably be okay with the 1408s. If it's a freestyle rig, in my opinion, that is going to be too much power at the top of the throttle, and it's not going to have the control that you want at the bottom of the throttle. What is this hitting now? The Brat motors are 1407s, but they're very smooth. They don't have super notchy, super strong magnets, so they kind of get away with it. And this motor bell is bent. But I am actually really looking forward to playing with the new Emax 1606 motors. They're not much heavier, and I think that 16 width is going to be a better match for a 3-inch prop. And one of the engineers from T-Motor actually, yeah, that too, French, yeah, really good point. One of the engineers from T-Motor actually messaged me a couple days ago and said basically, what's your dream micromotor? And I told him that I don't know quite yet. I'll have more info soon whenever I can afford a set of those 1606s. But I told him I think that it's 1505 or 1605 or possibly 1606. So yeah, those 14. I don't agree that a 1408 is a good size unless it's strictly for racing. And French, I think you're dead on the money. The focus on height with micromotors absolutely is, you know, raw thrust numbers sell just like horsepower sells in cars. Yeah, I mean, big horsepower numbers are everything to all the people because it's an easy thing to quantify, right? This has a whole shitload of power. Well, I want a shitload of power. I'm going to buy that. But with freestyle, there's a lot more than just power. The subtlety is everything. You know, when I first started into motorsports, I had I still have it. It's going up for sale, possibly today. A 96 Mustang Cobra that made 300 plus horsepower to the wheels, weighed 3,600 pounds, and was very old, but made terrific noises and was a great car to me for a lot of years. Once I got into motorsports, first I went into drag racing, and it worked for that because you could put a big tire under it and it made good power, blah 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 blah. But drag racing pretty quickly became kind of boring to me, and I got into motorsports where you turn the steering wheel, and the cheapest one was autocross that I was just talking about. And I very, very quick. So I tried to make the Mustang work, put big tires on it, tubular suspension bits all over the place, but there was no getting around. It was a big fat pig. 3,600 pounds is a lot. And I went kind of as far as I could with that car and never did all that well. Never was able to get towards the top of the drivers, top of the standings for drivers, even though I was getting better and better and better as a driver. And then I bought a Miata, and the first season that I ran with the Miata, I was driver of the year, and I won my class. And then the second year with the Miata, I did the same. Won my class and was driver of the year. So lightweight is, but you know, you look at the Miata on paper, you look at the numbers on paper, and it makes 110 horsepower, not 300. It weighs a lot less, but you know, again, horsepower sells. And with quads, I try to apply the same principle, which is that lightweight is incredibly important. And it's not sexy, but it's the subtlety. It's where you get that subtlety from. And I think motors are very similar to that. You gotta, you know, I think the raw, nice, bug eye owner. Yeah, you get it, French. Yeah, the raw power is nice, and it's super fun. See, that's kind of the other thing, right? My Acrobrat was on 1408s for a little bit, the Sunny Sky 1408s, which are just ridiculous. I think they make 800 or 900 grams of torque per on a 3-inch prop. It's nuts, dude. It made my 5-inch rigs feel slow. But why is that still hitting? Are you kidding me? But it kills batteries. It's not smooth. It just doesn't make sense for a freestyle rig. And yeah, I think there's more to it than just those raw power numbers. All right, so this is where I will stop on this because I'm gonna need to bore out the holes in the arms ever so slightly. They're a tiny little bit too small. I guess Hobbywing is using C-clips that are a little bit bigger than normal, and they're touching the inside of the holes, and it's preventing the motors from spinning freely. Enoch, what's up, man? How are you? All right, so Steve-O, you said you freestyle the Massive Giant 3-inch. Okay, yeah. Currently have 1507. Just wanted to cut a little weight. Okay, yeah, they are a little heavy. So yeah, there's the other side of it, right? Is weight savings. That's a really good point. Especially weight out on the arms. My God, it makes a huge difference. I recently removed the Rotorious skid guards from my arms of my 5-inch rigs because I realized that they were 2 grams each, and I could really feel the difference. I mean, like there's placebo, and then there's really feeling a drastic difference. And man, it was there for sure. It was a real difference not having those on there. So that really kind of drove home the point of weight on the arms being super important for the feel of a rig. I really want to get this done. Should I just do it, guys? Should I drill these out? Yeah, it is frustrating to drill the arms. Did I miss anything? Bug-Eye Owner, Awesome French, Freestyle, similar effect removing arm guards. Yeah, I would love to remove the TPUs, but the problem I have with that is removing the TPU leads to durability problems because the carbon delaminates so easily, and unless I have a whole bunch of extra arms, I won't really do it. I will take the hit in weight for having something that I can fly harder. Oh my god, I really don't want to do this. Let me see if I have a drill bit that... Oh, fuck you, French! The camera's getting all screwed up. We've gone off the rails. Oh! Alright. Alright, I'm gonna do it. Alright, let me run and grab my set of drill bits. I'll be right back. Let me kick the music up for you guys, and I'll put something good on it. I'll put my FPV-ish playlist on. Oh, this is more just my favorites. Find something good for you guys. Hold on. Come on. Give me something tasty. Nah, I don't want that. There we go. Here we go. I got you guys. I'll be back.
Oh, you didn't think we can do it again? Twister, Kanye West, from Pope Pippin to Poppin' Tags, from champions to slow jamming. Oh, baby, we can even make you an overnight celebrity. Know what I'm saying? Why don't we play something these hoes are like? Try whips, I know they like. Twister, you told her right. I can make you a celebrity overnight. Give you ice like Kobe, right? We sorta like Goldie, right? No way we own right. Make you a celebrity overnight.
Nice.
Girl, I see you in the lap bottom jeans. Chill up, I wanna know your name. Girl, I'm just like to blow your brains. Put you in the chameleon no range. Still sexy when you smoke that flame. Jerking like a chicken when you throw that thing. She got me hotter than the oven the way that she talk. Switching the freaky, so I'm loving the way that she walk. You looking good, girl, you wanna be your pictures. Listen to me, I see your career going sky high. Taking you home to the crib in the shot, and every time I see your thighs, I cry when I drive by. Watching you should be a thrill with the fellas on some Johnny Gill, steady screaming my. Walking the carpet with the diamonds, they're flicking the dog. Kicking it on the couch at 106 and Park. I can see your beauty on the big screen. I can see me freaking you with whipped cream. I can see you on stage at the awards with a dress better than Jennifer's and doing big things. Kick it with me, I can hold your line. You look good, girl, show you right. Drake told me you the prototype. I can make you a celebrity, yo, why don't we play something these hoes are like? Try which I know they
Alright, we're doing it.
Twister, you told her right. I can make you a celebrity overnight. Give you ice like Kobe, right? We sorta like Goldie, right? The way we mold them, right? I can make you a celebrity, yo, why don't we play something these hoes are like? Try whips, I know they like. Twister, you told her right. I can make you a celebrity overnight. Give you ice like Kobe, right? We sorta like Goldie, right? The way we mold them, right? I can make you a celebrity overnight. You won't bang, you can take that path. Handle lights when you take the bath.
I'm trying my best not to sing along.
I'ma get you Jimmy Choo and I'll take the bags.
I got a face for radio and a voice for TV. Wait, no, TV has audio. And a voice for silent movies. Alright, turn this down. We'll talk some more. I'll give you guys a little surprise. I got something secret for you. to just share with friends and whatnot. I'll throw up. I'm gonna go into the studio to find a link. I'll just throw up like raw edits, and since you guys are hanging out, I'll hook you up with a link to a raw edit to see what I've been up to lately. So this, it's just unlisted stuff. I have a ton of unlisted stuff in my, no music to it, shit flying, no editing. Not shit flying, but, not polished. So this was yesterday. Oh, for God's sakes, what's happening? Alright, there we go. This was yesterday with, I can't speak today. There was a rainbow on one side and a sunset on the other side, and this is like the last half of a battery. And then I put another battery on it, and it was one of the best batteries I've ever flown. But you'll never guess what wasn't on for that flight. You'll never, ever guess. Which I'm so pissed off about because I haven't done that in a long time. I have not forgotten to turn the goddamn GoPro on in many months. And I did it when there was a sunset and a rainbow. And I was actually kind of dialed in. I'm not super consistent with my flying. But when I'm on fire, I'm on fire. So let's drill these out. That's so that rig that I'm flying is a CB5. It's the new 5-inch CB rig from Superfly. With I'm gonna have to drill this off camera. With oh, that just broke. That's super frustrating. God damn it. The TPU just broke. Ooh, that would have happened in the air. So whatever. You son of a bitch. Alright, fuck it, drill it out. So that's the CB5 frame, which we're still kind of developing a little bit. BBB motors. They are 2207, 2650 kV, mega power. With shit, I forget what props those were. But that's beta plate 3.5 with very low feed forward and very high P gains. I built a KISS rig a couple weeks ago, and I've been futzing around with KISS, and it made me realize some things about P gain and D-term set point and a few other things. All right, let's see if that's drilling it out enough. I can't believe this goddamn thing broke. So this TPU just let go, which I'm glad it happened here and not in the air, because this would have come completely off, and then the antenna would have probably gone on the props. So I'm gonna fix this with a lighter, because TPU melts, and if you can just fix it. It's great. You just need heat. So let's see. Let's do this real quick. And I know why it broke. It's because of the direction that this was printed. It was printed like this, so it just, that's where it's the weakest. Which is out of necessity. There's kind of no way around that. Shit, I need to pull the tube out a little bit, because I need to be able to push the TPU together. Yeah, if your TPU ever breaks, just melt it back together, guys. That's how the 3D printers are doing it, right? They're melting it at it's got a fairly low melting point. And you can just do it with a lighter. It works better with a torch, but you don't necessarily need a torch. You can just use a lighter. All right, that's better. Now I'm pushing the TPU into the TPU. put heat on it, it'll start flowing together. And you just got to be real careful. But it will heal itself. And if you really want to help it along, take a little chopped end of a zip tie and just mush it together. I'm just going to push it around. Alright, so let's get it a little bit more. Whoops, you can't whistle when I have the lighter on. Right, check. There we go. Mush it, hold it steady. This is gonna break again. This is stupid. There's no way this is gonna hold. Blarg. The first crash, because these forever tubes are really, really stiff. I'll try with the torch. This is going to light everything on fire. This torch is not small enough. Nah, there's no way. Farts, man. Why can't anything be easy? Nothing is easy with micros. Nothing. Oh my god. This also broke because I didn't have the antenna tube pushed down far enough. Farts. What can I do? What can I do? Bondic UV plastic. Liquid on some CPU prints, a little more brittle and flexible. UV plastic. Is that the little tube, and then the back of the tube is a little UV LED, and you glop it on, then you use the LED to cure it, the UV LED to cure it. I think that's what that is. I've been meaning to get some. I have it in my Amazon shopping cart, but I haven't done an Amazon order in a while because I've been broke. This would need to be really strong if this was ever going to hold up at all. So, farts. I really like this mount. I really do. I wish I hadn't just broken it. I wish I'd pushed that tube farther in there. That was stupid. Well, if I do push the tube farther in now, I can... It'll grab that bottom bit in theory, and it will become stronger, because the bottom bit is way thicker. I have to do this off camera, sorry guys. Come on. Bastard. Man, it is hard to push these forever tubes in, and it's just not going. Oh my god. I know, French. My god. It really is. It's just so annoying. I usually just walk away from them and come back to them, which I'm really close to doing right now. Oh my god. Double A, what's up, man? How are you? You've missed the unbelievable micro frustration that happens almost every time. Oh god, why me? Why me? I could put a 45-degree up. I might have a half-assed but functional solution to this. Let's see. I have these tiny little 45-degree guys, which I wonder if I can squeeze in here. Oop. Wonder if I can get this in there. That'll push the VTX to the side a little bit, but that's kind of okay. Alright, so first of all, I need the other one. It's this one, I guess. So I would need this. Oh, God damn, they're the same direction. Shitbags. Oh man, I hate this. I hate micros sometimes. I really do. I really do. Put in work. Or I can run one 45 degrees out the bottom. Oh, no. I know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm just going to do a, I'm going to go old school. All right, I got this. I'm going to go old school and do a zip tie with shrink wrap. All right, this is fine. I just want to be done with this. Let's just get this done. All right, pull you out of here. That's fine. See, look how good this stuck, though. Just from that little bit of melting, guys. Look at this. Like, that's on there. At some point, I'll take this mount off. I'll take this TPU off, and I will melt this all the way around to fix it. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to leave it like this. I can almost do it right now. Let me see if this little plasma thing will get in there. Nah. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it another time. I'm going to just put a zip tie on this guy on the side of this, and that will work for the time being. This is probably gonna have to come apart at some point anyway, because this is a there's a lot of unknowns in this build right now. All right, so let's just get one of these on here and get this done. All right, so we can put this on the outside or on the inside. Put that guy in the inside. No. Oh yeah, inside. So that means this goes up. All right. Man, 6 people watching. You guys are hanging. Very cool. Much appreciated. How's the volume of the music versus my voice? I think it's okay because the microphone is pointing away from the speakers, but let me know if you guys want more music or less music. That's an easy fix. Alright, just heard it click, so that's good. That'll totally work. Is it tall enough? Is it tall enough? Perfect. Ooh. Alright, I don't care if you do or don't want more music. This is getting turned up. Just enjoy.
He says it's the chance of a lifetime.
Now you listen to me. I don't want any plastics, I don't want any ground floors, and I don't want to get married ever to anyone. You understand that? I want to do what I want to do. And you're...
Oops, I forgot the timing there. So that was Ford. I got turned on to them by Drew, actually. And I wish they had more stuff. I absolutely love that guy's music. Really, really cool. Yeah, Jesse, man, it's not just you. It is just absolutely brutal. I mean, I've been building micros for almost 2 years now, and, I mean, look at me. Look what's happening. Look what's going on, man. I mean, it's insane. It's just tough. They're just tough to build. It's too small. We're fighting against just not quite enough power, not quite enough motor control, and trying to keep the noise down. I mean, it's everything's a balance, right? If 5-inch rigs were quiet and safe, there kind of wouldn't be a point to do this. But we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out how to get it all, right? I mean, what if we can get the HD on these things really reliable and 2.7K, and they fly really well, and we don't get in trouble for flying. We don't get kicked out of spots, right? Like, that's the dream. But there's a reason why it hasn't happened yet. And yeah, this is one of those reasons. But we'll keep going, damn it. What are we gonna do? Stop? Screw that. Let's just keep pissing time and money at it. Eventually, maybe it'll work. It's I've definitely seen it. So when I first got into it 2 years ago, it was like micros were kind of a joke, and in huge part thanks to Tommy, now they're on the map. The Acrobrat really opened people's eyes to them, which is just awesome because they're great. They're really nice to have, but they're a tool. See, I think there's a real problem with where the hell was I going with that? Yeah, they're a tool. I see a lot of micro guys just power. I need more power. I need it to cover more ground like a 5-inch. That's like, why? Right? If you're flying a big spot, use the right tool. And that's, in my opinion, a 5-inch rig. Yes, it's loud and creepy, but hopefully bigger spots are going to be less populated. So yeah, these are, hey, look at that. Now we're talking. 3 more to go. Yeah, they're a tool. And here's the other thing, right? Is they're, as a tool, in my opinion, they should be used for flying smaller spots. It's kind of the point for me, right? Like, when I go out, if I know a spot is going to be really tight, really technical, really small, I'm going to bring a bunch of micros. I'm also going to bring a 5-inch, just in case I can make it work, and because they have incredible control, but I'm going to bring micros. And when I get to these spots with a micro, even if it doesn't have 10-to-1 power to weight ratio and, you know, can throw itself 1,000 yards for a half-second throttle blip, that's not what you want in a small spot. You want to fly, I call it flying big and flying small. At a big spot, you're going to fly big throws, big speed, big everything to shrink down the size of that big spot, so you're not boring people as you try to charge across a 100-yard, you know, gap of grass at 20 miles an hour. You know, you need to be flying a 5-inch rig in that case, so you can go 80 miles an hour and cover that boring spot as quick as possible. Whereas with these guys, with a micro, to me, it's to take a small spot and make it feel bigger. So not having a 10-to-1 power to weight ratio is not a problem for me, and it's actually kind of ideal because it forces you to fly smaller. And that's a big reason why I think micros have kind of gotten a bad rap, is because people just don't fly them small. People try to fly them the way that they fly 5-inch rigs, which is big. And I noticed this at Rampage, actually, when I first met Nick Willard, Wild Willie, and I told him and Jonathan Schizo to fly one of these little micros, actually, and it was actually the 2.5-inch. It was this one here. It's basically the new version of what I was flying at Quad Camp Atlanta when Joshua made the video about me doing the power loop Matty flip through the tables, blah 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 blah. And they were both flying at like a 5-inch, and both of them were kind of like, meh, this is all right, I guess. And then they both flew the Acro Brat, which is really powerful. The Brat motors make tons of power, and they were both like, yeah, this is more my speed. And it kind of hit me, right? And I was actually, when I was up at Jonathan's 2 weekends ago, if it hadn't rained, I was really looking forward to having him fly a couple of my micros, and I was going to tell him, look, fly smaller. Like, force yourself to fly this smaller, because, again, that's the point. And I think that's something that just gets lost, right? Everybody just either in the same way as a 5-inch, or they just think that that's, you know, that power fixes everything, and it really doesn't. It's really subtlety for me with these little guys. And that's why we need to figure out the right motor prop combo, which I've been working on for a long time. And I think we're getting there. I really do. I think we're really close to having that figured out. So I'll keep trying. And so will you guys, I'm sure. Which is awesome. That's one of the things I really love the most about the micro community, is everybody is kind of in it together, right? There's no like our biggest problem is that we're still figuring this shit out. You know, our biggest problem is not like there's not enough drama, so let's create drama. I thought it was hysterical when, oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot to, oh God, I forgot to drill it out, guys. I forgot to drill it out. Double A loves his 3-inch rigs, and most of his spots are small. Yeah, that describes Charleston here. Things are about to change a little bit with this move to Atlanta, but I'll still find small spots. Small spots are easy to find, right? You can find 10 dope-ass small spots for every one flyable, safe big spot, right? So, like, makes a lot of sense. Micros just make a lot of sense to me, and even being able to fly sketchy spots, right? Like, when this is done, if I get this thing dialed in right, I can go to Atlanta and dive any building I want in broad daylight. And I'm not worried about killing anyone. I'm not worried about doing serious damage to a car. This will not go through a car windshield. It'll bounce right off. Maybe it'll leave a little chip in it, But, you know, I leave a note. Hey, I left a little chip in your windshield. They'll follow up with their insurance company, and their insurance company will actually fill the chip for free because the roads suck so bad down here. They'll fill, like, I think the car insurance companies fill like 4 chips a year, every year for free. And all is well, right? Nobody's dead. There's not chaos. There's not a news story about some lunatic that dropped a 600 plus gram piece of carbon and bomb onto a city street. Drilling out one of these holes. Stand by. Come on, get out of there. So yeah, that really, I think it's important to remember that about micros, is that they're a tool, and as we all know, as our fathers told us, there's always a right tool for the job. one of my favorite examples of this, there's a I don't know if it's a national park. It's a little recreational park area right around the corner from me here. And I'd been flying micros there for 6 months every so often. And the cool spot to fly, it's in an old LB video of mine. The cool place to fly has this big line of palm trees. I don't know if anybody in here remembers. I got like 1 or 2 videos from that spot from long ago, back in the DVR days. And once I got into 5-inch, so I went there and I flew about 10 micro batteries. Oh, where I was going with where the location of the spot is, the palm trees there, the line of palm trees is right on the other side of a little row of trees from the front gate with the park rangers or whatever the hell they're called. And so I go there the first time with a 5-inch rig, and I fly like 10 micro batteries. Everything's cool. What's up, werewolves? Everything is cool. Nobody's bothering me. I put 1 battery through the 5-inch rig, and I flew out over the lake. I wasn't really making a ruckus near those trees. Came back, switched the battery. I start flying around those trees, the palm trees, and halfway through the battery, one of the rangers comes from the front gate. Hey man, you gotta go. Those things aren't allowed here. And I get kicked out. So, I mean, perfect example, right? Like, I could have flown micros there all day, and I can totally go back and fly micros, and they won't hear me. And even if they do hear me, they probably won't care because they just look like little kids' toys, because they kind of are. Although I guess you could say that all these are. But yeah, it's just such a huge advantage of micros that they're so much less intimidating, so much quieter, and I think we're close to having the flight characteristics similar enough to a 5-inch where you'll have really good pilots that fly only micros. What makes me laugh is there are some insane pilots flying tiny whoops, and there have been for a while. SR-13 and JB and God, of course, all the tiny whoop guys, Jesse, and although they don't really fly freestyle that often, but there just haven't been many people that focused on micro for freestyle, which FPV Ninja's nice to play. Yeah, it's always kind of been weird to me that it's like as soon as somebody gets their piloting skill up, they just shift over to 5-inch, which I'm guilty of too. Although, what am I doing right now? I'm building a micro, damn it. And I think a lot of the reason was because of HD. Now that HD has come over, but tiny whoops haven't had HD. But you can fly a tiny whoop in the house, so that's kind of different. But yeah, now with HD, I think things could shift a little bit. That's what I've been saying from day one. Micros are the shit. Early videos are some of the biggest inspiration. Nice, werewolves. That's really, really cool to hear that. Because it's work, man. You guys know editing is work, and you don't necessarily want to do it, but it's people saying stuff like that really truly. I know everybody says this, and it's the most overused, whatever, gauche thing. But it's stuff like that that really does feel good and makes it totally worth it, and makes me willing to do it more and more and more, as much as I can at least. I'm really looking forward to this move to Atlanta in a month or two. Flying with Schizo and Kevin and Steele and Tidwell and all those guys up there, Willard. I'm really looking forward to that to kind of push me to the next level. Even that one session that I had with those guys really opened my eyes and lit a fire under my ass to just keep pushing, man. I mean, there's just so much that you can do with these things. There's the skill ceiling, I guess you could call it, is very, very high with these. And that was something with autocross that I kind of got to the limit of before money came into play. It's something that I really love about this hobby, right? Is that you can build a rig for a few $100s, put a couple $100 GoPro on it, and if you're willing to put in the time and the research and the effort, you can be a top pilot and you can make some insane content. Drilling, stand by. Whereas in motorsports, there comes a point in motorsports where, like, you hit a skill ceiling with the gear that you've got and with your budget, quite frankly, right? The amount of money that you make in life, and that's kind of it. You know, you might be. Autocross is a little bit different than most motorsports. Most motorsports, that is a really hard reality. Autocross, there are stock classes where the only allowed mods are slicks, really sticky tires with no tread on them, right? They're made out of really soft rubber. Shocks, which can get really expensive. The cars that run the national circuit are on $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 shocks on an otherwise stock car, and you're allowed an axle back exhaust. So I mean, those classes, realistically, you can only throw I don't know, $5-6 grand at the car, and you've got a car that can be nationally competitive, and that's not bad. You also have to factor in you're going to spend $1,000 a year on tires, and there are some other budgetary things, but whereas again, this hobby, for a couple $100, for less than $1,000, let's just say that. Well, no, because you got the charge and all that stuff. Let's say around $1,000, right? You can build a setup that, if you're willing to put the time in, you can be one of the top people, and you'll never reach the top of that skill ceiling. Well, not never, but not yet. We haven't seen anybody really hit the top of that skill ceiling, right? Steel keeps getting better and better and better. All these guys keep getting better and better and better. So we're still not, we haven't seen the best. Yeah, Biohazard is exactly right. Yeah, all motorsports are like this: motocross, rallycross, monster trucks, trophy trucks. Yeah, I mean, it's how one of my favorite sayings when I was into autocross and just motorsports in general is, how fast do you want to spend? And I love that because it works in two ways. It works in the literal wording of that, like, how fast do you want to spend money? Because the faster you're willing to spend money, the sooner you'll be competitive. But it also works in the sense of how fast do you want to go? If you take out the word go and put in the word spend, how fast do you want to spend? Right, you get it? Like how much money are you willing to spend to go fast? So that's such a perfect saying in the world of motorsports. How fast do you want to spend? How fast do you want to go? It's all kind of related. And yeah, I've been just completely obsessed with FPV because that's kind of out the window. You can really, I mean, that was kind of my approach from the start with micros. Was I didn't have much money. I was working at a job initially that wasn't paying all that well. I moved from New Jersey down to Charleston and didn't realize that the jobs paid so much less here, and that was hard for a few years but we got through it, and now we're moving to Atlanta to try to get around that. But yeah, I just didn't have the money, and then I got let go of that job and was unemployed for a little while. And then I really didn't have the money, but micros are cheap, right? That first rig that I bought was a Baby Hawk, the original OG Baby Hawk, which is $100. And I just spent time refining that and was able to take it really far. I mean, if you look at some of those old videos with the Baby Hawk, like, it's absolutely ridiculous. All I really did was put that into a carbon frame, and I was just really sensitive with weight. Drilling, stand by. And put it on bigger props. That was the big thing I did, is I got it up onto 3-inch bi-blade props. And it flew nothing like the original Baby Hawk. And I think I had, like, with the cost of the rig, I probably had $120, $130 into it, because it was a real ACC cheapo frame from Banggood. And then I changed the props, and I had somebody print for me, 3D print for me, a camera holder. And that was pretty much it. But it was just refining it, right? Just pouring time into it, trying all different props, and just reading as much as possible. And yeah, I was able to take that pretty far. And that, all of that translated, right? Like the very first, I think I have a video, I have a video up of my very first 5-inch battery. I think it's called like Day One. It was literally the first time I flew a 5-inch rig, and I'd been flying micros for a while at that point. A year? Probably about a year? No, not quite a year. 6 months. About 6 months. And I mean, it was a lot translated. Like the weight, obviously, in the throw didn't translate, but I have a couple batteries from really early on where I was pretty on fire. So yeah, man, this hobby is really cool in that respect. And I really enjoy that part of it. All right, I'm behind on comments. Good luck on the move. Thanks, man. Oh, of course, the monitors black out as soon as I start reading. Good luck on the move. Hope you have a great time in Atlanta with the crew. I certainly will. Skill ceiling, man. Trust you got skills. Thanks, man. Drilling, standby. Motocross, rallycross. Yep, got that. Entry of 1,000 after that. The cost of the rigs, for the most part. Yep, totally. Push the mechanics to the limit. Yup. $9 an hour. Yeah, man, you got it. You got it. This is a great hobby for people that don't make a ton of money. Remember how heavy the older quads used to be? Yeah, man, weight is huge. Werewolf says, same for me. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. So cool to hear your story. Thanks, man. I try to... So I have pretty serious... how many are in here? 6? Yeah, I can share. I have an issue with clinical depression, and it really kicks my ass sometimes. And as I get older, it gets harder. And this hobby, so I didn't know that I really had it that bad, which I should have, because my mother struggles with it, and it is genetic to an extent. But I never realized that I truly had it. I just thought that I was somebody who had to be busy all the time. And what was actually happening is it was sort of my brain finding ways to fight the depression and keep myself from falling into that. As I pushed closer to 40, and when we moved down here to Charleston, didn't have enough money to be busy, in a way, before I found this hobby. I had a really hard time with it, and kind of like lost a couple years, I guess you could say. One of the things that depression, like actual clinical depression, not just feeling sad for a little while, one of the things that actual clinical depression does is it's almost like getting blackout drunk in a way. Like your brain goes to this bad place, and our brains, you ever notice like the really bad memories, they fade, they go away, and the really good memories stick, right? So I'm assuming that's our brain kind of protecting itself, right? Nobody wants to be miserable all the time, so it blocks those bad memories out. Well, when you have depression and you're sad like that all the time, your brain blocks all those memories out. So like, there's like a year or two down here living in Charleston that I kind of don't remember, because I think of what I was just saying. Like my brain kind of blocked all that out, and that sucks, man. I mean, that really sucks that I don't remember that time, because some cool stuff happened. Yeah, when I found FPV, man, like it's funny. It's like the blessing and a curse, right? There's so much to do in this hobby. You have to be an engineer. You have to know how to solder. You have to know how to edit. You have to know how to do all these things. But I have found that it really helps me out, and it having all of that, it has its own pitfalls. It's not all. It can cause some problems, right? Especially for those of us that are in relationships. It's very easy to lose sight of other things in life that are much, much, much more important than this. But hey, that's a life lesson. Yeah, it's really been great for me, and the community around it. It's funny, right? Like I put a post up on the Rotor Riot Facebook group a few months ago about, hey, who else has mental illness issues in here? And good Lord, it like blew up. And it's funny, man. I've learned a lot about mental illness through a lot of years of talk therapy and medication for psychologists, and just kind of taking an interest in it to try to figure out how I can beat it. And it's kind of struck me that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but we have the time, right? I feel like mental illness might be branching from how quickly man, we're in the weeds here. If you guys have any quad-related questions, put them in the comments so you can get me off this tangent, unless you like this tangent. But I've begun to feel like mental illness issues are maybe stemming from, look at the last 100 years, right? In the last 100 years, we've gone from like, so what are we talking about? 1919, right? 100 years ago was 1919. Think about how much we were able to learn back then. Not much, right? It was pretty grim back then. So in 100 years, which that is nowhere near enough time for our brains for evolution to actually happen within our brains, right? Evolution takes hundreds of thousands of years. I really do feel like our brains just haven't had a chance to adapt, evolve to the amount of information that we're now inundated with. And I feel like that's where mental illness kind of stems from. And yeah. So where I was going with that is, truly intelligent people, I think, have the hardest time with it, right? Because we're the ones that are taking in, ignorance is bliss, right? That saying. I think there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of truth to that. And this hobby attracts smart people, right? So I think from that post, that post kind of got me thinking, like, why are so many people in this hobby having mental health issues? And that's kind of the only explanation that I can think of. And so that's what I'm going with. Oh man, Chromeo's doing it over here, keeping me going. Guys, we're almost there. It's happening. Maybe I'll take you guys for an indoor hover test. Full sketchiness. Alright, what do we got? Hang in there, man. I have a feeling change of scenery will help. Yes, it will, French. Surround yourself with friends and loved ones. Fire line. Absolutely. Feeling of flight can calm and relax us so much you have the fear of heights. That gives you the feeling of freedom. If you're trim a fairy. Yeah, I don't know if I'm afraid of heights. I don't love heights, but maybe I'm not anymore from flying. Jesse says, amen. Thanks, brother. Double A, I agree. Nice. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that, and I wasn't totally off on a tangent that everybody ran away from. Nail on the head right there. Wish I could just be ignorant. Yeah, Sketch. I have had that same thought, man. It's so funny, right? Like, the happiest people that I meet, and this sounds horrible. There's no offense meant by this, but the happiest people I meet are the dumbest people that I meet. And it's just like, man, I just look at them, I'm like, fuck, dude, why couldn't I have just been born dumb? Or, I don't know, gone to a shitty school, or what is it, right? What makes those people, like, what gives you that ignorance? To have that ignorance is bliss going on. But here's the flip side, I think, is that ignorance, on the whole, not always, but I think that ignorance is not good for humanity, and it's not good for this earth that we live on, because it breeds some things that can kind of wreck stuff for future generations, and that's obviously no good. So, all of us being sort of more on the intelligent side, being into this hobby, it's a blessing and a curse, right? It's the world needs smart people, and but I guess no free rides, I guess you could say. What else do we got? Pretty much hitting it on the head. Tornado Girl, I feel like I was happier before I posted and was just flying on my own. Once in the community depresses me. Yeah. Tornado, that's... I have thought the same thing. It's a slippery slope is, I think, the right saying for it. I know exactly what you're saying. For me, it's more, I thought that I was happier when I wasn't flying and recording stuff. I get very hard on myself. Total perfectionist. And back literally before I had DVR, my first goggles were the 007 Pros, which legit do not have DVR built in at all. You can put it in, which I eventually did, but they don't have it from the factory. And my memories of those times were the happiest. But here's the flip side of that. That was also, and this only comes from my having had that same thought about every single hobby I've had. I'm 38 now. I've had a bunch of hobbies that I've really dove into. And I've had that same thought about every single one of those hobbies. There is something very special about the newness of a hobby. When it's new and it's fresh and you don't know everything, our brains love to learn, right? And there's plenty to learn. And I think that, I hope that that's more of it than us maybe kind of burning out on the hobby. I think that starting to share in the community is the next phase of that, and it's hard to, and unfortunately the next phase of that brings you into, as Biohazard, I just glanced at your comment and I saw the word trolls. You're getting it, man. That's it, right? Like, getting involved in the community opens up the door for shitheads, and that sucks, man. But that's life, right? Like, it's, again, like, no free rides. We've had this honeymoon phase with this hobby, or with all hobbies, in my experience. And then when you want to get more serious and you want to get more into it, you get involved in the community. And, think of you meet 10 people in life. One of those people is always going to be a shithead. Always, always, always. Regardless of the community, regardless of where. Sometimes 9 of those 10 people are shitheads. But there's at least going to be one person that's a shithead. And that's all of life. You're never going to escape that. I've never escaped that. So it's just the name of the game, man. It sucks, but we just have to deal with it. And you got to kind of keep your head up and, keep pushing. For me, what I've found with every hobby I've been into is, like, I really love to get deeper into it and kind of find the meta within the hobby, right? Like, learning to fly is one thing, but then once you really dive into it, there's this meta, like the hobby within the hobby, of how do I spend my time? Do I spend my time editing, flying, building, repairing, social media, talking to people? And everybody does that different. And that's a part of hobbies that I really think is cool. It's like that next level. And there's some really special stuff that happens in there. And now getting to spend more time with Jonathan, Schizo, and Steele, and Kevin, and talking to Ryan Harrell more and more, and meeting all these guys who are in that meta, it kind of becomes more clear to me, and that's been really, really cool. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that, I think. But yeah, Tornado Girl, I get it, man. I totally get it. I really, really do. Clicky, I don't know. It can be clicky. But here's the deal for me. Post your shit. People are gonna say trash. You just post your shit. There's always and when that one person, like Werewolves said half an hour ago, thanks, you inspired me. That's all that matters. That is worth 10 people going, not impressed, or I remember the one comment that I got on the Power Loop Matty Flip video. Oh, that wasn't even a Matty Flip. You hit the table on the way down. And it's like, yeah, I did. I'm not hiding that. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just putting up, something cool that happened to me. If that's what you got out of it, then that sucks for you. That sucks that's all you got from it, and that you couldn't get joy from it. You couldn't. What's her name? Marie Kono. You couldn't. Oh God, what does she say? Feel joy? Is it feel joy? Hold this in your hand. Does it make you feel joy? That person did not feel joy from my video, and that sucks for him. That doesn't suck for me. So you just try your best. I don't know. It's life, man. It's life. French will never... Yeah, man. French will never forget the feeling the first time he did a full flip in Horizon mode in early 2016. Blew your mind. So true. So true. Remember when power loops were like the scariest thing ever? Right? Like, because you would lose Horizon and it would just be sky and I don't know what the hell's going on. Oh my God, here comes the ground. I just slammed into it. Yeah, that is... an unforgettable moment. How far we come, but life's too short to get hung up on the BS and drama. Yeah, man. Although, as I'm sure everybody will admit, much, much, much easier said than done. Much easier said than done. I'm 38, and I haven't figured it out yet. It's a lifelong thing, is to figure that out. Double A says, I'm doing a great job. Thank you, man. Speaking the truth. Challenge is always making the best of what we have. My God, is that true as well. That is so true. Such an important life lesson that is so hard to drill into your head. Everything around us is, more. One of the biggest problems with marketing is that, it tells us that unless we have more, that we're not happy. And it's one of the things that I love about other countries is they don't quite have that approach. I think they don't spend as much money on marketing as we do. Which is kind of cheeky for me to say because I've worked in the SEO industry and I would love to get back into that industry because it's fascinating to me. But it's bad. I don't think it's good for humanity. But I don't know. What do we got? Have fun in the hobby, just a relaxed manner. Yeah, totally, werewolves. French Brown gave Double A a thumbs up. Hell yeah. Building things to be the most fun. First snaps together model kits and a love for aviation. Then finding FPV teaches myself how to solder and how everything comes together. So Biohazard, man, I love that. And I love, people that enjoy building more than flying get such a bad rap. And it really pisses me off, right? Because there's no rule that says, like, you have to be into being a pilot in this thing. Those are the people that get all the attention, right? Because they have the edits that make you go, damn! But people that enjoy building for the sake of building, and I see a lot of these people in the micro community, that's awesome. That is super, super, super cool. Here's what I want from those people, though, I want them to share more often the little stuff in their builds, because what you focus, if you focus on building, you're going to find little tricks to building that me, who has to spread the time out between building, flying, repairing, editing, social media, you guys that have that focus on building, you'll find awesome little tips and tricks. And I do feel like sometimes, and maybe this isn't you, but I do feel like sometimes those people that are more into the building, and it's probably because they're more into the building than the social media, now that I talk it out, but I feel like those guys are a little bit quiet, and they don't post as often. And I think that's also because of the stigma where, like, you have to be a good pilot, and that's bullshit. So that is what I will ask from you and anybody else that you talk to that enjoys building just as much as, if not more than, flying, is take pictures. Take the time to take pictures and throw them up, because those of us who that's not our main priority, we see that stuff. And when, think about it, right? I see your picture that has something routed differently. That took me 5 seconds to see that, figure out what's going on, versus if I tried to incorporate that into a build, it would take me a lot longer, right? Like much, much, much longer to eventually figure out to do that. And that's so flip it, right? I spend my time editing, putting flight edits up. You see me do a snap yaw and fade back. And in those 5 seconds that you saw me do that, you didn't have to figure that move out on your own. So that's that kind of little circle of life. That's why, we just need to all build each other up and not tear each other down. That's how we're going to grow this community. And yeah, fuck the people that are, you can't even be a pilot. Like, God, it drives me insane when, like, somebody gives the answer to a question. They're like, oh, I just looked at your YouTube channel. You're not even a good pilot. Like, fuck you. If I have the right answer to a question, it doesn't matter how good of a pilot I am. Like, it's just silly, and it's not great. But yeah, we all need to work. Nobody loves doing the things they don't want to do. I don't love doing this building nonsense, but I do it because I have to for the other parts of the hobby. So, like, Tornado, when you talk about, when you get on social media and you kind of get discouraged, I get it. B, you got to do it. You got to do that thing that you don't want to learn more and to connect with the cool people that won't be assholes. So just, I don't know, try to keep that in the back of your head when you're doing those things. And guys, I think we are about done. I think. So I don't love that in an upside down crash. So because of where this zip tie is, because it's zipped on an angle like that, so zip ties don't bend left and right very good, but they bend front and back, right? Because they're flat. What I don't love is that if I hit just right, this will bend down and potentially go into the props, which sucks. But I'm not tearing it apart again. And might be okay. So there it is. There's a dual camera Zoot. I think this is the only one in existence, because I think Jack only made one of these little front HD camera buckets specifically for me to test. Let's weigh it. I'm very curious what this thing weighs. The other thing, and I just realized about an hour ago, I forgot to mention this. The other thing that I love about the dual camera setup is it's only like a 5-gram weight penalty. Because the only difference is you're putting in a little micro camera. This is also why I won't put a micro eagle in as the FPV cam on these, because they're too heavy. So there you go. It's a 5.9 gram. This is another Predator I have. It's a 5.9 gram weight penalty, and whatever the weight of the little harness and the little amount of wire to go to the flight controller is. So, maximum, let's say 7-gram weight penalty to have a second camera that won't feed. You too, Tornado Girl. Be good. Stick with it. We need you. We need you in the community. Yeah, so it's only a 6 or 7 gram weight penalty to have that second camera, and I swear to you, the difference in your piloting will be well worth that. 154.5 grams, and that's with everything but the battery. So let's take a 4S 450, which is my favorite size. So we are going to be over 200 grams. I'll be damned. 4S 450 is my favorite size on these lighter weight rigs. Yeah, look at that. Damn, 216. Why'd this get so heavy? So there's TPU up in the front. Huh. Still a lot lighter than an Acrobrat though. So we got, make sure it's on the scale even. Yeah, so call it 216. So 216 with this battery. 450 is too small, is not enough MAH for the Acrobrat. Absolute minimum for the Acrobrat is a 550, so let's put it on the scale with a 550 to get a little head to head. And so 251 and a half, so call it 251. Here's the thing though, with this 550, this won't run anywhere near as long as this Zoot. So realistically, we need to put a 650 on here to really get a head-to-head. I have one of those back here. All right, so this is a better comparison. Just throw it here. And even with this 650, you're still not going to get as much runtime. All right, so 258. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about 258 on an Acrobrat versus what did I say? 216 on this guy? Yeah, 216. So what's that weight difference? What did I say? 258? So call it 256. So what's that? A 40 gram difference? Roughly 40 and then 40. So 42. 42 gram difference, which is real, right? Think about that in percentages. What's the percentage difference? 42, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So it's fifths. So 20, not 25%, 20%. So a little bit less than a 20% difference in weight. And that's big. That's a big difference between these two guys. And like I said, this will get better runtime. That's super interesting. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bigger weight difference than that, to be honest with you. But when you talk about a 20% difference in weight, that is real. That is a real big difference. I think I wanted to be under the 200 gram mark just for the sake of being under the 200 gram mark. So yeah, let's hover this. Let's hover this in the living room. This is gonna get all kinds of shaky. So anybody with vertigo, fair warning. You might throw up. Let's find a battery with a little bit of juice left. Sure I didn't discharge all these into the dirt. Or I did. 15.0, which is 3.7. That's below storage. I'm gonna do that one. Let's try another. Yeah, AA. I agree. I'm behind on the comments. What do we got? Too often. Shit. Hold on. I gotta scroll up. I'm that behind. I don't need to do a motor check because I pulled this out of a. That's why the props are still on it. I pulled this out of another frame, so I know that this setup works. I'm more interested in if it vibrates all over the place, oscillates all over the place from the way that I have the stack mounted. That's really all I'm checking for, and then I'll go out and rip it this afternoon. All right, so let me get caught up in the comments real quick. Building things would be really fun. Okay, cool. Then French said, I love and take pride in my builds. Awesome, French. Me too, man. Me too. I can build any time of day. Hell yeah. Hopefully all the builders are sharing on rotor builds. Hell yeah again. Still love to fly, but need to get more stick time to refine my skills. Here it is, man. Simulators. Liftoff and Velocidrone. Put the time in on those sims, and you will improve as a pilot so much faster. I cannot say that enough. The sims are everything. I spent hundreds of hours in the sims when I was learning to fly, and it made such a difference. I would literally look at my flight footage from like a week ago or 2 weeks ago when I was heavy on the sims every night, and like it was like a different pilot. So I cannot suggest that enough. If you want to be a better pilot, put the time into the simulator, because you will get so much more stick time in the simulator being able to hit a button and reset rather than go get it, fix it, all that nonsense. So hammer those sims. I used to do a half an hour minimum a night. That was my rule. No less than a half an hour a night on the sim, and I did that for many months in a row. Some nights it was 2 or 3 hours. Some nights it was just a half an hour. But if you do it every single night, you will explode as a pilot. Werewolf, genuinely would like to tune in again. Thanks for the good advice. Awesome, man. If you're still here, thanks again for the kind words. Sketch says, all too often I think people feel they have to be able to do certain tricks and maneuvers in order to get a good pilot. Absolutely. Many people get their kicks out of cruising around and enjoying the view. Hell yeah. Look at Jet. Look at Gab. All these long-range guys. This is what I love about long-range becoming a thing. I mean, you were flying a camera, right? Like, there's this whole cinema element to this hobby that's so cool. And yeah, being able to do Matty flips through stuff means nothing. If you can create something that you love the look of and that you enjoy, I bet you somebody else will enjoy it too. Biohazard braids his motor wires mainly due to if a wire gets chopped, you can unbraid it and hopefully have extra wire. I never thought about that. So I never braided them because I was worried about electrical interference, which I don't think is a real thing. But I kind of do the same thing. I just leave extra wire and kind of tuck it up in here for that same reason that you just said. But here's the game changer to that, which is the mini race wires. I don't have any of the mini race wires, but and this is a race wire with the LEDs attached. But putting race wires on these things, the race wire ends up being exactly where the prop strike is going to happen, and you'll never break a race wire, especially with a micro prop. So for me, that's been the game changer. I'm being lazy, which is why I didn't put it on this, because it's still in like sort of the development phase. But get you some micro race wires, or I really like the Pyro Drone ones, which have LEDs built into them, and they're short enough for micros. I really, really dig these because having those LEDs is really cool. It helps people follow you, and it's just cool, and it doesn't add much weight. So yeah, there's your way of getting around that. But the braiding is cool. It looks super cool. I love the way braiding looks. But here's the thing, right? For me, I always try to reduce weight on the arms. So having them flat like this is the least possible amount of weight on the arms. And then my theory to tucking it in here is that's, I'm adding weight to the body, which I'm fine with. But best case scenario is the shortest possible run of wire, because the wires are heavy, right? Shortest run of wire to a race wire, that's the best setup in my opinion. And you chop these nice and short, and it also helps if you need to swap a motor when you're out flying. It's so easy to just boop, 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 pop the motor off, pop a new one on, boop, 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 and you're back in business. So yeah, I love, 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 love race wire. AA runs 850s, hell yeah. What else do we got? I have to run. Tommy, I'm happy from branching out. Not that he knows me. Message him. Well, she's not here anymore. But guys, message these people. Message Tommy if you have a question for him. Message Kebab if you have a question for him. You'll probably hear back. That's how I met all these guys. I just messaged them when I had an interesting question for them. Don't message them with how do I PID tune, because that's the question they get 7,000 times. But if you have a unique kind of thoughtful question, message it to them, because that's what they're going to read and go, oh, well, that's a really good question. Let me respond to it. Because, keep in mind they get a million of those messages. French says, great stream. Go enjoy that maiden. Post a vid. Don't have to be super edited. I won't edit it at all. I'll just post this up as it is. Good weight savings for the size. Yep. Motor check. Yep. Plus 1,000 for the Sims. Full CT knows. He knows. AA, Aaron, you have a builder that is streaming now. I'll take my leave. Love you, buddy. Glad you streamed a bit today. Hell yeah. See you and everybody else around the summer. Yes, you will. All right, let's go hover test this thing. Oh, right. I got to find a battery that's not at storage charge. 14.6. That might be the nope. Come on. If I can't find one, I'll just use one of these tattoos because I hate them anyway. 14.8, no, that's not enough. 13.7. Alright, we got one more shot and then I'll just use one of these tattoos because they're trash compared to the China Hobby Lines. They're lighter, which is nice, but they sag like a bastard and their internal resistances suck. 14.8. Screw it, just use that one. Alright. Hopefully the phone's been charging, so I also need to figure out how I'm going to route the battery wires on this whole toilet tank thing is new to me. And the routing of your battery wires is way more important than anyone gives it credit for, because when they get chopped, life sucks. So I spend a good amount of time thinking and experimenting with different ways to route the battery wire to try to find the best one. And for now, this should work. Alright, so let's get the transmitter powered on. So that it doesn't chop my fingers off. Could have charged the battery now. Fuck you. Oh, you bastard. What model is this? So I pulled this out of, I think this is this one here. How dare you? How dare you? Alright, so let's make sure this is the right model first before I cinch the battery down. And when I do this with the micros, I can get away with just pushing down on this thing. Although if I arm this, it's going to blow all this hardware everywhere. I'm going to arm it on the ground. I'm just going to arm it for like a split second just to make sure this is the right model, which it is. I guess I could have told that by just looking at the receiver and seeing if it's green, which it is. So that was silly, but whatever. I don't love having to cover up. I don't love having to plug the battery in and then strap it down, but sometimes that's just the best way to have it. So sometimes I just do it and whatever. So yeah, this will be a half decent way to mount the battery. I'm willing to fly this like this. What I look for is is there any possible way the props are going to chop either the leads here or the battery leads themselves. So stuff like this, like, push down on this really hard, see if the battery can get or the prop can get to it. This is pretty good on a hard sling. I don't know. I don't know how this toilet tank thing is gonna be, but I do want to try it because from a physics standpoint, it makes a lot of sense having weight spread out like this. And Kitten Surf, I saw Baby Hawk in your comment, which intrigues me. I'm going to get to that in 1 second, but first, let's hover this thing. Because I need to get this done so that I can get into this race flight build. So let's take you guys for an adventure of the apartment. Because we're going to hover test it in the living room. So let's go on a little adventure. What do you say? Okay, so I can put this tripod over here. Got you on a Gorilla Pod, guys. Alright, so we'll do a little... Oh, for God's sakes. I just ripped one of the arms off of the Gorilla Pod. Alright, Gorilla. Yeah, now we're talking. Oh, come on, Gorilla Pod. Don't be a dick. In the words of Will Wheaton, don't be a dick. Yep, sketch. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And I did a little bit of a test with the CG, and that's why I put it in this particular spot. It might actually be a little ass heavy. I won't be able to tell until I fly it for real, but I have one more slot of adjustability front and rear, so it's kind of perfect. Don't mind this towel. Our cat loves towels for some reason, so we leave that there for him. All right, so here's another tip especially when you're doing this shit inside. But anytime I change props or anything, arm it and disarm it. Make sure it doesn't Tasmanian Devil. Arm it for another second. Make sure the pid loop doesn't wind up or anything weird. Disarm it. And now check this out. Just with the roll stick, don't add any throttle. Bump the roll stick to either the right or the left or the front or the back. So that tells me that the two left props are on correctly. That tells me that the two right props are on correctly. Right? So if it was going to Tasmanian Devil, it would have done it by now. And when you do all this, my finger is like on the arm switch, ready to disarm. So now I know that The gyro is oriented correctly. I know all the props are on right, so now it should hover. I've never had this now Tasmanian Devil. Oh, and his battery's dead. So that battery just sagged just from that little bit. I did have it plugged in for a little while. That was a mean thing to do. But it got off the ground, so we're good. I can stop there. And
Telemetry lost.
yeah, indeed. I can fly this later. That's pretty awesome. It hopped. Yeah, exactly. It hopped. I mean, to be honest, we don't really need to hover it. All I really needed to do was that little left, right, front, back test. That kind of tells me everything that I need to know. Essentially, what I'm doing there is making sure that when I get out to the field, there's not a motor in the wrong spot, right? Like, this will fly like this, so I can go out and not bring a laptop. Since in the OSD, you can't change motor direction, motor location, blah, 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 blah. So, we're good. Working, dual camera, 216 gram rig. That's pretty cool. That's pretty rare as well. So there it is. There's the Zoot. Let's give you guys a little tour of it since I have the camera off the off my little light. Oh, so here's where, for anyone who's wondering, here's where I had it gorilla potted here. So like when I was rotating this light, it was taking the camera with it. So I gotta when I move to Atlanta in a couple months here, I'll set up a better setup. Ugh. So here's the Zoot. It is, I don't know what the ESC is. It's either a 15 or a 20 amp, might even be a 25 amp. It was just in my box. And then that's actually a Lumineer. Where's the camera on this? It's on the right side. That's a Lumineer Lux F2. And then that's the V1 Caddx Turtle. In the back, it's an RXSR. The leads coming off the RXSR are a little too short. If they were a little longer, I would rotate that vertically and stick it to the VTX, which is in the back. I'll show that in a second. That's a little voltage regulator because the Turtle doesn't want to be fed by 4S. It's too much. It gets too hot and blows up. And then here in the back is the VTX, which I have mounted vertically. I love doing that. And yeah, like I said, at some point I'll extend those wires on the RXSR. It's tucked in there so I can stick it to the back of that VTX and run it vertical to just clean that up a little bit. And then we've got the Foxier Predator up front here and the Turtle V1 up in the front little drop-down bucket. This little drop-down bucket is I think the only one of its kind. Jack from Rotorious made it for me to test, which is why I really wanted to get this done, to get some of that testing done. What I love about it is that it puts the camera far enough forward where it shouldn't have any props in view, which is pretty rare. Even the Acrobat is a little hard to get the props out of view. It's doable, but that's kind of exciting. And then yeah, the individual FPV cam I am a huge fan of. Flying through these HD cams, in my opinion, really sucks. The feed has no contrast. It looks like ass. It picks up all the video noise that you have in that rig. And if you hit something hard enough, even a thick branch that you recover from, the video will freeze on you. And then you're left disarming. And that makes it hard to find, too. So yeah, when I put the SD card in this, let me show you guys a cool little trick. When I put the SD card in this, I don't have the cool little 3D printed piece that'll hold it in. RunCam does a little cover, which is nice, but Caddx doesn't do anything. So here is a trick. Put a hot glue stick in your bag, in your flight bag and in your toolbox, just a regular old hot glue stick, and a lighter. And then what you can do is, how the hell? All right, I'm gonna put you guys back on my light stand here because I don't have enough hands to show you this. All right, 1, 2, and oh, that's cool. I can use the third one as like a little kickstand. All right, I'm figuring this thing out. We're getting there, guys. Thanks for hanging while I'm figuring all this out. I know it's a little rough. You guys probably have motion sickness by now, but I do appreciate it. All right, that's good. So here's a little trick, right? When you need to hot glue, and I don't even use a hot glue gun anymore because of this trick. Take your lighter and get the hot glue stick hot, and then stick it to stuff, and it'll just stick there. So when I have another one of these in my bag, right? When I put my memory card in here, I will push the memory card in, get this hot, and it takes about this much time, and you'll see it. You'll see it start to flow, and it'll smoke a little bit, and you'll smell it. You see it start to flow, and just bloop, and just stick it'll just put a little glob of hot glue between the end of the SD card and the board, so that it gives a little bit of resistance, so it won't pop out in the fields. And then when you get home, you just sit there with your fingernail and just scrape it right off, and you can pop the SD card right out. But yeah, a stick of hot glue and a lighter, man. Just whenever you need hot glue, just fire, melt it, stick it, and it'll probably when you pull it away, it'll probably string out. But then just take your lighter on that string, and it'll glomp back up. That's my. I love that trick. I tell that trick to anybody willing to listen. Because hot glue guns suck. They leak all over the place. Alright, behind on micros, I know... I guess it's kite and surf. It's not kitten surf. It's kite and surf. Like kiteboarding, I guess. Or just flying kites in the sand and surfing. Alright, kite and surf. Got an old school Baby Hawk as your first FPV viewer, and me too. I was so frustrated with flying acro. Me too, for the first time. Came across your videos and watched you rip on that thing. I like to think the South Park video. Nice, yeah, that South Park spot's cool. Unforgiving spot, but it's a cool one. Kept at it and love where I've gotten to today. Hell yeah, man. Don't care about posting videos, but love ripping my micros around the house. Yep. Thanks for the inspiration. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Totally. Look at all that room on the top for a GoPro. Nice. Kite and surf. Hell yeah, man. That's it, right? There's no rules to this hobby. If you don't want to post videos, don't post videos. I always nudge people to post videos because I want to see them. I want to see people flying micros. But if posting videos is not something that you enjoy, then don't do it. No pressure. No rules. Battery towards the rear likely to offset the weight of the cam. Exactly right. Plaid pajamas. I tried to keep the camera not pointed towards myself so you guys wouldn't see that. And yeah, it's I don't know where you guys are in the country, but it's 2:30 here almost. And yeah, still in my PJs. I started working on this as soon as I woke up though, so that's my excuse. Full CT has no excuse to still be wearing his plaid pajamas. Biohazard says, hopped, hell yeah. Little micro SD card slot, good choice, hell yeah. Werewolves, you got me inspired. Setting the last piece of my prototype 94mm to print and getting building. Are you printing a frame? Is that what you're saying? Your new prototype 94mm. I'm assuming that's 94mm motor to motor. Very cool. So I'm guessing you're 3D printing the prototype for the frame to figure all the geometry out and whatnot. That's awesome, man. I love that. I wish I'd worked harder in college and instead of a communication degree, gotten an engineering degree. Hell, my dad worked in the engineering department at the school I went to. But I'm lazy, and I didn't. And I took the easy way out. Kite and surf, yeah, kiteboarding and surfing. Awesome, man. Very cool. I live here for the moment in Charleston, 5 miles from the beach. My wife and I have been here for 5 years now. We're moving to Atlanta in a couple months for a lot of reasons. But it was super cool to live next to the beach, although neither one of us kiteboard or surf, which is one of the reasons why moving away is not really hard for us. She loves the beach, I don't. We've had enough of the beach. Aviation technician certificate and welding certificate is what I got. Damn. Very cool, man. Very, very cool. That is awesome. I'm jealous of that. So there it is. There's the Zoot. If anybody has any more questions, put them up. Otherwise, I am going to move on to a 5-inch rig and race flight. Flight 1 is a new thing for me. Get any micro questions in that you guys can, because it's about to be story time on 5-inch stuff, and I'm going to just generally start talking more about 5-inch shit here when I start building it. So I'll leave this here for you guys to oogle at while I clean up for a minute. If you guys have music requests, feel free. I am on Spotify and I will play whatever. Alright, so let's clean up a little bit. Which is, I know, the most boring thing ever, but gotta do it. Gotta force myself to do it. Where are my nuts in here? Burp, burp. Oh, Chromio, thank you. Do it. Help me through this cleaning binge, Chromio, please. Alright, so we need these.
But you've been sleeping
Ooh.
on me. Don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on me.
Don't sleep on him. Ugh. What a dick he's been sleeping on. They've been sleeping on him, I should say. Alright, this is from the microphone.
A girl like you needs extra attention. Shouldn't be wasting your time. No, a girl like you, well, I'll give you the world if you give me the word. And it's killing me. Don't put me in my mind. I can't tell you who to love. I can't tell you who to love.
What does it sound like when I whistle along to the music? Is it horrible? I cannot do it.
I can't tell you who to love. I can't tell you who to love. I can't tell you who to love. But you've been sleeping on me. Don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on me. Yeah, you've been sleeping on me. Don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on me. Yeah, you've been sleeping on me.
Now I'm in the car, no sense. You can see me looking buff when me get bad boys and my dons give it to you. Lifestyle of a don when I'm pulling up. Never see me chillin', never see me laying down. Hey, honey, let me stop my lemonade now. Boy, I'm getting big, boy, I'm getting big now. And do you wanna holler? I got that on my head now.
Go ahead. Cop the coupe.
That was my mouse, not my phone. For the record. I need the tramp.
Love turn to hate, hate turn to
Need
love.
this, don't need this.
On me, might never wake. I pull up, she look like I need a bag. Shorty bad, no makeup. Slipped on me, I made him wake up. From the bottom to the top. Half a meal in the yacht. 'Cause I know. Yeah, you've been sleeping on me. Don't sleep, don't sleep, don't sleep on me.
Do not sleep on him. He'll stab you in the eye.
Yeah, you've been sleeping on me. Don't sleep, don't sleep, don't sleep, don't sleep.
Oh god, I don't
Yeah, you've been sleeping on me.
If you only really know what you done to me. I had a crush on you, but you never acknowledged me. Now when you see me, I fuck up. Boy, good luck, I'm checking my new stuff.
Oh my god, why? So many wires. Fully printable frame, micro frame, awesome. Idea is should take separates, flight controller PB 2 to 4S, 19 by 19. Oh yeah, micro camera, right? 11OX motors. What's the song you're whistling to? Whistling isn't bad. That was Chromio. How do I go back? With the back button. You know, this is very movable. I can just, if I just do this. Come on, Gorilla Pod, don't be a dick. Check that out. Gorilla Pod is kind of killing it. There it is. Don't Sleep is the name of the song by Chromio and French Montana. Blow this up. Bigger.
I can't tell you who to love. I can't tell you who to love. I can't tell you who to love. No, baby, I can't tell you who to love.
Yeah, Chromio is the jam. What's the problem with Chromio? I think if you try to put Chromio into a flight edit, I think it'll get flagged by WMG. Like full-blown flag, like taken down. It think I had that happen to me one time. That's why I don't use their stuff in edits anymore, which sucks. Jay-Z is like that too. Don't use Jay-Z songs. You should get pulled fully down. They don't like come after you or anything, but they pull the audio, at which point, like, you know, it's unwatchable. So yeah. You've been warned. What are these? 22 gauge? And this is 20 gauge. Where's the 20 gauge at? Is it 20 gauge? There's the 20 gauge. Oh, of course these are too long. Balls.
But you've been sleeping on me. Don't sleep on me.
Alright, well this seems to be a random spot. Alright, so we just listened to this song. Let's go to the next one, which is Ford, which I'm excited about. Although we already played Who's to Say on this stream. So let's grab another Ford song. Here we go. Let's go Bedford Falls. You guys will probably recognize this if you're fans of Drew. Alright, I'll be done cleaning in a second. And we can start working on a 5-inch Rigopotamus. Alright, lots of solder. Get the hell out of here, solder.
He says it's the chance of a lifetime.
Alright, fuck it, that's clean enough. I don't feel clean anymore.
Now you listen to me. I don't want any plastics, I don't want any ground floors, and I don't want to get married ever to anyone. You understand that? I want to do what I want to do. And you're...
There we go. Good. Alright, sweet. Let's do it. You can put away the M2 bins. And put this one away as well. Oh, I gotta plug the phone back in. Old phone, iPhone 5S. Battery life is not great, but away. All right. Actually, I'll wait till the end of the song. Oh yeah. We'll see. These are the old Mac 23-inch, the ones that are clear plastic with the silver on the front. You can get them for like $80 on Craigslist, and they still look really good. All right, so we got to replace an arm, flight controller, ESC. Yeah, let's just dig in. Why does iTunes keep... Oh, I'm plugging the phone in. That's why. Yeah. Come on, get out of here. Werewolves, that's awesome, man. That is very cool you're designing a frame. I am very jealous of that. I've worked with Jack at Rotorious a bunch, and now more recently John with Superfly, and I have a lot of ideas, which is great for them. But I don't know, it would be nice to do something all by myself, to take all my ideas and push them all in there. So yeah, man, very, very cool. Alright, so let's drop this music down, we'll talk about what the hell we're doing now. So this is... so for anybody that hasn't been... that I haven't talked to at length, Kebab kind of is who got me into flying 5-inch. So when he became interested in micros, which was about January of 2017, so a little over a year ago. For anyone that doesn't know what month it is now. When Kebab became interested in micros, he found me, reached out to me on Facebook, and I've learned a lot the hard way, and I've pissed away a lot of money the hard way, and I would really rather. I don't want to keep that a secret. I don't want anybody else to have to go through that, because it leads to people quitting and just frustration, and there's just no point for that, right? So I would rather tell you everything I know and have, save you money and frustration than keep it a secret. Ooh, I've got the secret sauce combination. Nobody else can have it. I want to be like, no, come on. Let's be real here. So I was more than willing to tell him everything that I knew, which I did. We talked for hours, a few nights in a row about micro stuff, and from like midnight until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And we became friends through doing that. And before long, he asked me something, and I told him that I actually didn't have any 5-inch rigs, and he was like, "What? That's insane." And then he goes, "Well, I'm going to send you a." This is back in the days where his current frame was the Flow Ride. So he goes, "Well, we can't have that. I'm going to send you a Flow Ride prototype frame." And I'm like, "Wow, okay. So I guess I'm building the 5-inch rig." And so that frame came, and that's where my first 5-inch build came from. And that was like a month or two before Quad Camp Atlanta, which is where Full CT. Is that where you and I met? Why do I keep calling you Full CT? Seth, is that where we met? I think. And on the way to Quad Camp was actually one of the very first 5-inch batteries that I flew. And then at Quad Camp I flew a few more. And Kebab and I have been friends ever since, and I am forever grateful for him doing that, because I was kind of planning on just staying with micros, because I didn't think I could afford a 5-inch rig, a 5-inch build, and he kind of made me realize that I could. It's not that much more money. And so that was the Flow Ride, and then he made the Floss style with the boomerang arms, and it was Rampage that we met, Seth. That's right. Okay. So yeah, he made the Floss style, which I didn't get for no real reason, and then he made this Glide, and I forget why. Yeah, I hadn't talked to him since he made the Glide, I think, and he knows that I'm really hard on gear. With the Flow Ride, I gave him a bunch of feedback on shit that I'd broken during crashes, and as a designer, I'm sure that's appreciated, right? Getting that feedback. So when like I said, he came out with this Glide prototype. He came out with a video on it, and I hadn't talked to him a little bit. And then we just started talking one night, and he was like, "Oh, you don't have a Glide, do you?" He's like, "I'm going to send you a prototype so you can pound on it and give me some feedback." So that's what this is. This is a Glide prototype. The production model is not the same as this. This is actually a Stretch X, and this has less room in the front. So the first thing that I realized when he sent this to me and I started to build it, I tried to put the flight controller in the front here behind the Micro Eagle, and it wouldn't fit. The plug header on the Micro Eagle was too close to the soft-mounted flight controller. So that was the first bit of feedback I gave him, and he ended up extending the front end of this frame a little bit. He added, I want to say 2 millimeters to the front of this in the production model, so that you can run and I think he moved the 20 by 20 holes back a little bit, so that now you can run the flight controller up here, which I love, because what that allows you to do is run the video out from your camera directly into the flight controller, and then run the video out from your flight controller under the ESC to the VTX in the back here, and then out the antenna. And basically why I like that so much is A, it's clean, but B, it's the shortest possible path for these unshielded video wires. So they will pick up as little garbage and noise from the electrical system as possible, which is a really good thing. If you can't see where the hell you're going, you're not going to fly well. Being able to see really well has a lot to do with your confidence level. So yeah, I'm really excited to get that production model. He's going to have them in stock on his webpage. He's not selling them through Pyroflip anymore. They'll be on his page, kebabfpv.com, I want to say. Middle of March. January, February, March. Yeah, middle of March. So I can't wait to buy one of those and put the flight controller up front here. But what's going to be cool is this is the only rig that I've got that's got 20 by 20, 20 by 20 for this race Flight 1 stack that Jonathan Schizo was cool enough to gift me 2 weekends ago when I was staying with him, because he's super interested in my feedback on race flight. I've been interested in it for a while, talking to him about it. And he was like, dude, here you go. You can try it. And I am so goddamn excited to get this going. So let's do that. I also have to change an arm. I broke this arm on this guy. So let's do that first. Yeah, let's do that first. Jesus, I guess I Loctited this. Or it's spinning in the TPU. Nah, it's spinning the TPU. Damn it. Cranked this really tight last night. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Now we're talking. Get off, get off. Oh man, there's hooligans outside with motor bicycles. What am I gonna do? Come on. Fucking Corey has my my Wiha. I don't love these. These are hard to spin. I like these Wihas because they got the nice cap that you put that cap in your palm, and then it's easier to turn them. But Corey borrowed my 2mm one for M3 screws at Rampage, and he still has it. And I almost prefer him to have it so I can continually call him out on it, and just keep shit talking that he's got it and that I'm suffering. Oh, this sucks. I'm gonna lose this little square of wonderful Impulse RC foam. Damn, maybe I can scrape it off. So this foam comes with alien frames, and I just got a carbon fiber splinter standby. This is the foam that comes with alien frames, and it is really, really good. It is shockingly good. It just sticks. Like those pads that you get off Amazon, they just come right off, and this doesn't. This is like nigh on invincible. And Steele talks about it in his videos. I remember the first time he was saying it, I was like, how could it possibly be? And then I built this slammed alien, and I thought, wow, this is how good it can possibly be. And to get more of it, you got to order it from Impulse in Australia. So the shipping is obviously insane. So I'm going to be stingy and sit here and scrape this off. Because I don't have much of it left. And I know at some point I'll break something on that slammed alien frame in theory and need to do an order from Impulse. And at that point I'll buy a bunch of it. But for now, I don't have a reason to do an order with them. So I'll do this instead. Looks like I answered your question without even knowing it, Seth. Yeah, I actually I specifically asked Steele last week, like, where can I get this foam stateside? And he's like, dude, nowhere. He said he has to order it from Impulse. I was like, what the fuck? What's that about? He said it's just like one little shop, like Al's sticky foam shop or something that makes it, and he's never found anything like it. Blum blum. All right, more carbon fiber splinters waiting to happen. All right, so when I put this on, when I put this back on the new arm, I'm gonna have to heat it up to get it a little bit more sticky because it's got some dirt on the adhesive, which obviously makes the adhesive not work as well. Chop, 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 chop. Okay, new arm. And let's take this off without getting splinters. Here's what I was saying about melting TPU back together. I've had to do it a bunch on this. You just melt it and it goes back together. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Was I saving my broken arms? I don't think I was. Fuck it. Oh wait, no, I did want to save that. That's right. Save it for when this prototype ends up on the wall. All right, new flow ride arm. Oh no, that's another broken one. Wait. Here it is. All right, let's make sure the geometry is the same because, yeah, it is. Because I'm playing with a prototype. All right, let's drop this on and away we go. Or in rather, I guess. They're the same length, yeah. Make sure your screws aren't bent. Make sure they have some Loctite still left on them. We got a little bit of The Sword. The song is Iron Swan right now. I can't listen to these guys when I fly. I get too angry. Should I not put this standoff back in? Yeah, I won't put the standoff back in yet. Fart. And this X-plate took a hell of a beating. Jesus, that was a big crash, I guess. Ooh, Christ, what's that? Oh, it's not tattoo. It's fine. Well, my phone has a notification on it. What's it say? Shit battery remaining. Oh man, I hope that wasn't frozen the whole time. Was that frozen the whole time? My phone was telling me that the battery was getting low. Which is weird because it's plugged in. But I'm assuming the plug is being a dick, as lightning plugs can from time to time. Let's do that. That'll be better. Huh. Whatever. If the camera goes dead, the camera goes dead. Alright, so there we go. There's a new arm on there. Let me put one little bolty in there. Actually, first, I'm going to melt this back together a little bit. Where's it breaking right there? Alright. See a bubble go together. And then give it time to dry because it maintains its heat for longer than you'd think. Oh yeah, the phone wasn't plugged in. Oh my god, please. Apple, please. Apple, please. My god. Alright, so that should be cooled. Nope, not yet. This is getting close to a point where I won't be able to fix it anymore. And that didn't flow that time. That's interesting. I think I just didn't give it long enough to cool off. Whoa, 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 whoa. Easy, easy, easy. That's what you got to be careful of with these. But in doing so, I can paint it around, which is kind of good. If you don't recognize this one, get the hell out. There we go. Now it's flowing. Let me pull some of it over a little bit. I think I see what it's wanting to do. There we go. There we go, that connected it. Alright. Now let's give that a proper amount of time to cool off. Instead of rushing like an idiot. All right. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm gonna have to do it. All right, let's get soldering. I have to pull these motors off. That's right. I'm switching to ESC. I forgot. All right, that's fine. I'm gonna crank the soldering iron for this because I just want to get it done quick. Yeah, the motors can stay on, but I gotta take them off of the ESC. Alright, so what can I do while I'm waiting for that? I can do these guys, because this is coming out. Wow! Whoa! Oops, I'm tightening it. I think that the stream might have gotten killed by my phone getting angry at the battery level. If anybody's still out there, Do me a favor and type into the comments. Un poco picante. Ah, nice. Okay, still going? Cool. Turn up the beef, guys. Throw your body on the flame. Turn up the beef. Jesse R, what's up? Say something interesting. Or else I'll kick you. I don't think I can do that. Sorry, Dad. Dinky nuts. Zerbert and the sherbert. DJ Tanner, guys. Oh my god. You ever get hot building these things? Why? Oh, yeah, soldering. Oh, this should be cool. Oh, much better. Much, much, much better. Alright, let's put one screw in on this. Unless it rips when I... Oh, you know what? It's just gonna rip as soon as I stretch it to get it over the devil horn, isn't it? That's why I usually do it when it's on the arm. Idiots. It's holding on. No, it's good to go. Look at you go. All right, all right, all right. Oh, although I fucked that all up. Fuck it, I'm over it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine, guys. Everything's fine. Seth, how was your Rampage experience? Oh, fuck me. Different length and the different... Savage. Alright, that one's good. Did I just have 3 in here? So, 2 outsides and an inside. That was fine. Really? Life-changing, huh? That's pretty cool. I can totally see how it would be. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I've ever done. And, like, just getting to meet everybody was just... I mean, it okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a little different for me, right? Because I got to meet all these guys at the first quad camp and then talk more to them at the second quad camp. I kind of can't imagine what it would be like for... Oh, I'm gonna have to disassemble this whole fucking thing, aren't I? Oh god. I can't imagine Rampage being the first time that I met all those guys because, like, the event was so cool regardless. And then to meet all those people and, like, that would just be a lot. I can absolutely see how that would be a big thing, man. That's super cool to hear. This is me realizing that this is going to be a hell of a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. Oh, okay. How do I feel about Bardwell's 4-cylinder Mustang? Well, my first car was a 4-cylinder Mustang. So I love it. My very first car that my parents handed down to me was a 1987 4-cylinder, 2.3 liter, non-turbo. If it was an 1986, it could have been an SVO rather, which had independent rear suspension and a turbocharged 4-cylinder and was way ahead of its time. But no, I got an NA 90-something horsepower 4-cylinder Mustang, and it was awesome. Any rear-wheel drive car is awesome as far as I'm concerned. And nice, Coda. So yeah, I'm totally down with it. And that EcoBoost motor is actually a hell of an engine that's in that. You can tune the living shit out of that. The flip side is my second car was a 96 Mustang Cobra with a big gnarly dual overhead cam 4.6 that revved to 8,000 and just made all the noises. And then I was like, oh right, so this is what muscle cars are all about. And the noise is a big part of it. And it seems insane to anyone who hasn't owned one, but the day that you own one and open the throttle, especially if you have an exhaust on it, it's an experience. So, I don't know. I mean, it's here's the thing, right? They're heavy. Muscle cars are heavy. Can't get around that. And so you got to back up that weight with power, which is where the turbo comes in. And I don't know. I can see it both ways. Fuel efficiency and having a little bit less weight on the nose is big. And the new chassis is really impressive. It's more of a world car. It's way stiffer, and that kind of lends itself more to a 4-cylinder, in my opinion. The old cars with the 4-cylinder, it was like, man, nothing about this is good other than the fact that it's rear-wheel drive. Like, it was a shit-ass suspension, floppy chassis. Like, you couldn't forgive it as easily. The new one you can kind of forgive a lot easier because the rest of the car is really good, and it makes a lot more sense. So I like it. I really do. I think it's awesome. And if he ever wanted to make more power with it, he could pretty easily make V8 levels of power. But you'll never get the V8 noise, which, again, is a big part of it. It's a big part of muscle cars. Yeah, 5.0s sound great. I mean, just Ford engines in general sound great. Ford actually has a guy who his job is to make their cars sound good. I don't know if GM has that. I hope they don't, because their V8s sound like a fucking machine gun firing into an aluminum garbage can, in my opinion. But yeah, that's a part of the muscle car experience for me. But I don't know. Let's wait on the to each their own, right? Some people love the sound of a turbo 4-cylinder. I do now too. Now that I've owned the Miata and Kristen's Mazda 2 for a while, I've really come around to the sound of a wailing 4-cylinder. So yeah. And the V8 is a lot more money. A lot more money. More expensive to fix, more expensive to run. So, if we want more content from Joshua, we should all support the 4-cylinder decision, because now he has more money to put into testing equipment to benefit all of us. So, thank you, Joshua, for going 4-cylinder instead of V8. That was nice. That was nice of you. Thoughts on Steele's new ride? Now we're talking. So, Steele and I met at Rampage and talked for like a half an hour about cars, pretty much. And at that point, he kind of told me his plan of building the STI into this big, gnarly track day car. And I've been into motorsports for a long time. I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot of people try for that route. One of the biggest problems is there's really not a class that car fits well in that you can run in affordably. So I told him that. I don't know. I will be honest with people and run the risk of like pissing them off. Which, you know, I want to be friends with the guy, right? Why wouldn't you want to be friends with such a cool dude that's an incredible pilot that you can obviously learn a lot from? But again, I just, you know, I value honesty and people sharing their experience to save you time and effort and heartbreak. And so after Rampage, we kind of kept in touch and talked more and more about it. And then a couple weeks ago, he tells me that he's changed his mind on the STI thing, and he's gonna sell it and all the parts. And you know, was wondering like what I've driven. So as an instructor for many years, it. Oh man, we'll talk about the pumping the sound in a minute for sure. What the hell was I just saying? Things, many things. Yeah, so he was kind of asking me like what I've driven to. Oh yeah, so as an instructor, as an autocross instructor for 7 or 8 years, I got to drive a lot of cars. The biggest thing that we did was we told everybody on site, and this is why I trained 11 instructors, because we told everybody on site you must bring an instructor with you for at least one run, or let them drive your car for at least one run, because you develop bad habits and there's a lot that can be learned from that experience. So I've driven short of Ferraris and Lambos, they never came to autocrosses. I don't know why. They just never did. But everything else, every Porsche you can imagine, or Porsche more accurately, that you can imagine. What else? All the Lotuses, every regular manufacturer car I have driven, and I have driven at the limit of traction. So I've gotten to see their interiors in paddock, kind of poke around, move the seat around, and then drive them in anger at the absolute bitter limits of traction. And in doing so, something became obvious, which was that when I would get out of a car, there would be a moment where I would either look back at it longingly or I wouldn't. And that was always the moment where, and it took me a while to realize it, but that was kind of the gotta have it moment. And it would happen to me all the time with Miatas. Every Miata I ever drove, I would look at it and go, damn, I gotta get one of those. And keep in mind now, right, I started instructing when I was still driving the Mustang Cobra and didn't have the Miata. So Miatas always did it. They were always just so goddamn good. And here's what's really funny about that is a Miata is what made Steele realize the same thing. He was in California visiting, I want to say, Tommy? And he rented an ND Miata and fell in love. And when he came back, he bought one, and in driving it and spending some more time with it, just kind of understood what him and I had been talking about with kind of lightweight, curing all things, and just being incredible. So that's what led him to the Lotus, which is a hell of a choice. I mean, goddamn, that's another car that I would get out of. And the big difference for me was always a Lotus had enough power, and the mid-engine thing is so when the rear end comes around and the engine's back there, it's got a lot of momentum. It's got extra weight versus the engine being up front. It's more penduluming on that weight of the front engine, like a Miata. That's one of the reasons front engine cars are, you look at drift cars and they're all front engine because of the way they rotate. So that, I would always get out of a Lotus and go, God damn, that thing is fast. I kind of want one. It was never like I got to get one because of that fear. So as a weekend car that you're not necessarily going to race, man, that's about as close to perfect as you're going to get. And they hold their value really well, which is huge. And they're gnarly looking. So I am jealous as hell of that car, man. That thing is awesome, and he is going to have an absolute blast with it. And lately we've been talking more about, because he wants to kind of get into motorsports, so we've been talking more about what does he do? Does he build the Lotus into a race car, or does he build the Miata into a race car? And I am trying to convince him to have the Miata be the race car, but he can't go wrong either way. He's got two lightweight cars that'll keep the running costs down. That's the one big problem with motorsports is money. It's just a fucking fortune. So having a lightweight four-cylinder car really helps out with that. All the running costs drop down, and it's just a much better situation. So, yeah, man, very cool. Beautiful car, beautiful driving dynamics. The only thing you can't do with that car is take it beyond the limit of traction. When you get to the limit of traction and that car starts to rotate, if you're on a public road, you're fucked. You're going in hard. And you're going in hard because the car has acres of grip, which is the other problem, right? When the rear end comes around, you're going real fast, so it happens in a hurry. And yeah, it's a hell of a driver's car. You got to really work to get good and get fast in that car. But I mean, you know, that's the fun of motorsports. I gotta crank this soldering iron up. These ground pads always suck up all the heat. Alright, let's get it. And all the flux just burned off, but we're good because we cranked the heat up. Get out of here, you little jerk. Come on! What I'm doing here is I'm taking the leads from the Tiny's LEDs off the battery pads. I'm going to leave the XT60 though, because I'll put this ESC into something else. So I might as well leave the XT60 on it. And this is me soldering very lazily. Yeah, very lazily. That was creepy. Don't do what I'm doing. Take your time. There we go. Alright. What else is connected? Oh, right, the harness. Right. Oh, God, I almost dropped the soldering iron. That would have been a first. Alright. Alright, brother. Be good, Seth. Thanks for hanging, man. This was fun. All you guys, man. I can't believe there's people still in here. 8 people still in here. I'll be damned. You guys rock. What a cool community. Alright, let me just clean this up a little bit. Just so it's not so nasty. That's fine on the bottom. Inside here might be bridged. Let's clean that up. Come towards the heat, solder. Come towards the heat. You know you want to. Alright, it's definitely not bridged now. Cool. Cool. Alright, that can go into something else. Do I install buzzers? Great question. I do not. I use the ESCs as a buzzer, which is stupid because it gets the motors really hot. But I haven't burned out a motor yet, and I just don't leave the buzzer on for long amounts of time. When I'm going to try to find it, I'll flip the buzzer on, listen real closely, and then turn it off. But the worry, oh God, the worry is that I get it stuck somewhere, and I also set BL Heli to beep after 5 minutes. So the potential problem with this is it gets lost somewhere for a half an hour, and it sits there. Well, hold on. The rig that got lost on the roof did that, and it's fine. Okay, so that's not a problem. So I lost a rig on a rooftop, and it sat there until the battery went fully dead, and the battery was like half charged when I lost it up there. So it sat there beeping away for about 2 hours, and it didn't kill the motors. So yeah, So technically, so the only reason to not to do what I'm doing and just use the motors, well, the only negative I should say is that the motors don't beep as loud as the beeper. The beeper is definitely a dedicated beeper is definitely louder. I just am lazy when I'm doing builds and just try to keep them as clean as possible. So yeah, a beeper is always going to be better. It doesn't weigh anything either. So yeah, put a beeper on if you're not a lazy shitbag like me. All right, so. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tear this thing all the way down, I think. Man, I'm losing steam. I've been building for a long time. I really want to get this done though. God, I really want to fly this on flight 1. I really, really, really want to fly this on flight 1. Alright, I'm just going to keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Go, 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 go. Keep soldering. Get some helping hands going here. Blah, 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 blah. All right, come on. Come on. I'm gonna get you in here. Get in there. All right, that should work. Get it. Get it. Get it. Got it. All right, I think I pretty much have to desolder everything. Yeah, I do. All right, let's turn the temperature down on this guy because we're dealing with 30 gauge wire now. And a 20 by 20 board. We don't want to roast it. And let's get it. Wait, can I leave the RXSR? This is going to be the glide with flight 1. If I leave the RXSR, I can put that into the crush. Nah, screw it. Come on. Alright, let me calm down a little bit because I'm shaking, and with these 20 by 20s, it's really easy to bridge 2 pads, which is just stupid and a waste of time to solder wick it back off. So that is a red wire that I'm holding, so this 5-volt, of course. So when you're shaking and you're soldering, you're either A, hungry as hell like I am, or you don't have bone support. Get bone support down and you'll shake a lot less. And I just bridged them. You son of a bitch. Alright, so I'll fix that in a second. Let's get the rest of these off. Alright, so let's fix this. I don't think I have to solder wick it off. I think I just use the heat. Yep, there we go. Always remember, solder goes towards the heat. And you can use that to your advantage in lots of situations like I just did. Yep, that's not bridged anymore. Cool. Alright. Pop a couple more off of here. Alright. Alright, ground wire coming off. Man, yeah, I'm hungry. I might have to You know what? I'll desolder everything and then I gotta take a break and get some food. This is crazy. This is crazy. You're crazy. I like you. You're crazy. Come on, shitbag. There we go. There it goes. There's the solder traveling towards the heat. Alright. I should be paying more attention to what these wires are, but I've done this so many times that I can just kind of look at the component they're hooked up to and sort of know. So this has that on it. What if I put that into the crush? Screw it. I'll leave this harness hooked up. Oh, but I do have to take the VTX wires off. All right, so they are. Oh, it's just two of them. That's easy. Cool. All right, so that's these two yellow jib jabs. Come on, you bastard. Oh, it's been out for the whole time. There we go. All right, now we should be free. Oh no, there's a there it is. I had that up to the LED pad. That's right. All right, yeah, we're good. Now we're free. Sweet. Okay, so I'll build something else with this same this Racer Star ESC and Maytech F411. No, good. I'm tired. I hope you guys appreciate this because all I want to do is go sit on the couch and relax and not do this anymore. But I want to fly Flight 1 so bad. I'll keep going a little bit more. I'm not gonna get this done now. I've been doing this too long already. That's where that balance kind of comes in for me. Like if I charge through this, I'll be so angry at the end of this. I won't want to fly for like a day or two. Gotta keep that balance. Oh my god. Oh man. All right. This feels like a good stopping point though. What do we got? I am switching out this VTX, or am I? So if I put this stack in the middle, it should pretty easily clear. Good God, man. Oh, I'm fucking exhausted. Alright. If I take it out of the middle. So here's what's going on right now. I am planning how to package this new stack. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do the whole stack in the middle, dead center, versus the ESC dead center. Trying to figure out if I want to go, oh well, that's interesting. That doesn't even fit. Well, that's an interesting wrinkle. So that means I have to run it sideways, which is not the end of the world. Alright, well that's good to know. So this is too big. Okay, so I have to run it. I have to run the ESC like that. Good to know. So then I've got Battery wires coming up. And I can route them out the side, not a problem. Alright, so that's gonna work. So this guy's here. What's it gonna hung up on? Oh, I know what it's gonna hung up on. So that means that the Infinity. Oh, this is gonna be tight. Oh my god, this is gonna be really tight. It's gonna work, but this is gonna be tight. So then the plug header is there, that's fine. And then we're gonna stack him. And it looks like it'll still clear the top plate, but remember, always remember you got battery straps coming down off the top plate. So the alternative is I build it like it just was, put the flight controller back here. And that makes it easy to cram it under 20 mil. The other, I mean, I guess there's a chance that this could clear in the front, but probably not. So the USB port has to be accessible, so that has to be sideways. Nah, it won't clear. It's got plug headers. What if I flip it? If I flip it, ooh. Well, that is interesting. So it might clear. I don't think it will. Don't think it'll clear. Damn close though. Why didn't the 411 clear? If the 411 wouldn't clear, this won't clear. So I would have been mounting it like that, or I would have been mounting it like that, and then it's flat. Okay, yeah. So if this won't clear in the front, which is no big deal. That makes me want to leave this VTX though. I'm gonna leave this VTX. I'm not gonna switch it out for the Tramp. So that allows me to move this guy to the back. Crossroads. Oh, I gotta pull these off anyway, so I might as well just keep going.